All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, DeRitter versus Allen, and Dana White's Contender Series Week 10, the finale for 2025. We're going to be taking a look at UFC 321, which is Aspinall versus Gane as well. And to do all of that with me, as always, the Ohio player, the man, myth, and legend, and at this point, a probably better referee than Dan Murgliata, Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, I'm good. I feel like this is going to be a good episode to talk about a lot of different things. Obviously, we have so much to go over, and it's going to be a really good episode. Fights on Tuesday that we had, fights on Saturday, and hell yeah, ready to talk about them on Monday.
We got a ton to go over today. Canada was a whole show and a half out there in Vancouver, and we had quite the finale to the Contender Series as well. If you are new to the show, we're going over each and every fight from these cards. So if you have anything that you would like to discuss in the chat that is not pertinent to the fights that we were talking about at the time, throw it in there. We will come back to it if you remind us, hopefully, because we got a lot to go over today.
Hell yeah, and let's just get into it.
I would say let's just jump right on in. Yeah, let's go over to the Contender Series to start off. This was week 10 of season 9 of the Contender Series. And man, this was such a great way for this thing to end out. Really, like we were talking about it time over time throughout these Contender Series events. But like aside from week 1, this was a really, really strong Contender Series in general. And like this was just a fantastic card for the finale of this thing.
Oh, I 100% agree. And like I was saying, it's like at the beginning of the season, there's nothing to gauge off of, but at the end, everybody knows what exactly how to get their contract. And most of the time when they don't, it's like they know and you know that they just like didn't they just missed the mark on the game plan. But like here, you got everybody ready to show out and they did exactly that. So
Absolutely, yeah, and it's always that's always why it's doubly funny when people get like, what? You mean I didn't get a contract? It's like, dude, you know exactly what you're supposed to do, and if you didn't, then you
we
should have.
will talk about them.
Sure thing. All right, well, let's start it off. This was Mario Mingaj, I believe is how that was pronounced. Mario Mingaj and Wes Schultz. Wes Schultz, I believe, is a second timer on the Contender Series.
Yeah, so here's actually the deal, and I didn't get to stream this one, this episode, and I wanted to hang out and watch it with Dad. Get the finale experience with him, and good thing because you would have heard me talk for 30 minutes straight of how Wes Schultz is one of the worst fighters I've ever seen in my life, and genuinely, I still kind of stand by what I'm saying because I said exactly this. He was gonna walk in there. You're gonna see a grappler who learned a couple karate kicks and he just don't know how to stop throwing spins and other shit. And that's exactly what he did. Surprisingly, they gave him maybe the worst fighter ever imaginable, other than him, I guess, because Mingaj, I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, Albanian. Yes, it's a very Albanish name. Sopaj is the other guy that
Sure.
ends in the AJ. But yeah, Wes Schultz unfortunately came in here and got a fucking Suliev stretch on this guy.
I mean,
Ridiculous.
how can you say unfortunately when this dude pulls off one of the rarest submissions in the game after having some of the most awkward striking of all time? I don't think I've ever seen a fighter land a sidearm strike in a meaningful way. This dude threw a punch with his arm, his like elbow up and over, like he was coming from the side with it, like he was tossing a baseball sidearm, and somehow it worked. And then, yes, pulling off one of the rarest submissions in the game, the Suliev stretch, or the banana split, as the Spanish commentary team was calling it. I watched a little of the Spanish commentary with the Vitz King on a secondary viewing, which was entertaining. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about that? It is extremely impressive to see an active competition coming from Schultz, doubly impressive because he's not that impressive otherwise.
Yeah, Schultz, his first stint in the Contender Series, he got annihilated by Mansur Abdul Malik,
Yes,
and
yes.
it really made him look not very good. Because when somebody walked in there with confidence and imposing power, he literally had nothing for him. And at middleweight, you're gonna have that a lot, pal. Like, I mean, even the top guys without the power punch that you would necessarily think, I mean, they're gonna at least walk you down. So Wes Schultz, I'm not sold on this guy because he's kind of just like a Ryan Hall, kind of does a couple karate kicks but knows jujitsu, and I'm just not sold on it. So
Oh, well, that's exactly what the chat was saying after this fight. Like literally everyone, and I think myself as well on the watch along was saying it's like, yeah, that's extremely impressive and it's really awesome to see because you never see it. And I loved it. I was like, man, you should watch the reaction to it on the VOD because it really was like, holy crap, that's amazing. But yeah, I mean, the ultimate consensus was like, what's he going to actually do in the UFC? I mean, is this guy going to be able to pull off anything close to that? Probably not.
yeah, no. Sad to say, Albania still down for this one. That's crazy.
Yeah, we need more Albanian fighters because they have the best flag in the game. The Albanian flag is so hard. It goes so hard.
Pretty sure I have the Albanian flag, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's in my Amazon cart. I think it's one of the other.
True. Well, I guess we need more Albanian fighters to actually win so that you can purchase it.
I actually, it obviously is in my cart. Well, it was in my cart because I was waiting to purchase it. I was like, boom, I'm going to get back into the flag game for Albania. And there was no reason for me to buy that flag. So,
That's what I mean. Yeah, we need some actual winners from Albania. So,
yeah,
guys, Albania, let's step the game up over here because your flag goes hard. Chase wants to rep. It's a win-win for everybody if you win.
yeah, hell yeah.
So yeah, I mean, shout out to Schultz, gets a contract off of that performance. Again, we're gonna have to see what he can actually do in the promotion. I would be very cautious about putting money on him in his debut.
100%. Yeah.
All right, next up here, this was the lone, this was the lone downswing of this card, and I think it's okay though because it's like you get a really crazy start to the thing, and then you have a little bit of a dip, and then the rest just builds up, and it's great throughout the whole end of it. But this was an absolutely terrible fight. This was Azamat Nuftalayev versus Jovan Leka.
I'm actually having like flashbacks right now for how ridiculous this was. So this fight starts, and Azamat just goes straight for the wrestling and just holds his back for the entirety of it. Holds him on the back, does nothing. Surprisingly, the ref doesn't like separate them because they were doing enough apparently. And then what's really funny, and the comedy starts immediately in this fight because the round ends. First round, this dude crawls to his corner and is laying there taking the biggest breaths. And obviously, I can't spoil too much for what we're going to talk about from Saturday, but dude, this dude was the most exhausted person you have ever seen out of one round of like I know we see a lot of people huff and puff, but like genuinely huffing, puffing, laying on the mat like he's like in a daze. The ref is having to like, come on, let's go. You gotta go. And it's like only been 5 fucking minutes. So
Yeah. This had flecks of Kimbo and Dada 5000 with the level of floppage going on here. This was definitely a walrus show. I mean, it was interesting to me. This is a heavyweight fight. Both of these guys seem to be very content trying to wrestle each other. And I remember distinctly we had a conversation very recently about heavyweight wrestling just being kind of goofy in general. So it was like, you have the goofy wrestling of heavyweights mixed with the gassed on both sides eventually in this fight. I mean, it started off on one side, became both towards the end, and it just made for quite the display.
this fight was just frustrating because again, you're in the second round and Asmat completely is gassed, and now Leka gets to flip the script, and he has complete full reign to do whatever he wants to this dude, and he chooses to wrestle with him. He chooses to wrestle with him and hold him and not strike with him, not knee him in the stomach, not punch him in the face. He just chooses to look for submissions. He keeps flipping him to his side, flipping him to his stomach, goes for the choke, he flips to his back. This is what you watch for another 5 minutes. Okay, Asmat gets to the corner again, disgustingly tired again. It's like, how are you even still here? How have you not given up yet? Like, you looked really tired after that first round. Then you continue to go. Third round comes. Leka continues to wrestle. This fight is absolutely atrocious. He continues to fucking wrestle, dude.
It
Like
was like it was chain wrestling if the chain was made of Laffy Taffy.
this fight is just so. There's one specific point that I have a flashback of, and it just makes my head hurt so much because it happened right at the end of the fight. Because that's right when Leka finally started like dropping elbows on. He drops like two elbows. when you watch in the fucking replay, bro, they slow-mo it. This dude hit his own fucking hand with the elbow that he
Oh no.
finally threw. So he
Oh
threw 2 elbows. He lands one and then has his hand on his head and then hits his own hand. It made me so, I'm like, you, the one thing you thought you could potentially do right at the end of the fight, you even fucked that up. Like, I can't believe you. And what sucks about that, and then I'll
mhm.
let you go,
Sure.
is that Lecca genuinely seems like a pretty cool guy. Like in his
Yeah.
little post fight speech, I actually kind of digged. Like, he had the look of like, I really fucked up, but I like everybody, appreciate everybody. It was nice being here. I don't think I'm gonna see you again, so
Well,
see ya.
here's what my conspiracy theory is with this is that I believe what they're doing is that they're actively seeking out heavyweights with wrestling and grappling ability. I think that that's what the push is because I think that the organization recognizes the state of heavyweight in general, first of all, and second of all, that they want to have more well-rounded, more multi-skilled fighters in that division to try to fix the problem. Uh, that being said, this ain't it. So like
Yeah.
where you're kind of in a bind because it's like, do you just go back to big guys that can slug? Then you get at least a little bit of entertainment out of that, but you run into the same problems that you've already had, or you try to find the diamond in the rough that's actually one of these kind of dudes who's better than this, who can actually get the finish or has the cardio to make it last for 3 rounds. But either way, it seems like a tall order that they're not filling, certainly not in this fight.
Yeah, this one was damn near one of the worst. Like
Yeah.
I was watching it with my dad, and my dad obviously he's a very, very casual viewer. I only show him the ones that are worth watching and or contender series episodes. And he's like, these are not 2 dudes that should ever be in the UFC. And like obviously these aren't the UFC guys, but like it's a UFC affiliated program. Like he's watching it and knowing like never in their lives should they be close to what I've seen before. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. This one was absolutely crazy. Like that dude as Matt, I genuinely don't know if there's ever been a worse display of cardio. Like you told me it was maybe 4 days notice off the couch and he had been smoking cigarettes and drinking beer for the past year. I would think he could like maybe stand up at the end of the first round. Like that's just nuts that he couldn't even do that.
Yeah, because I mean, it wasn't like he was getting pummeled in the wrestling.
He was the one on top. Like he was just resting on his back the entirety of the first round and somehow was still tired. So that's just nuts. Should never
Yeah,
happen, obviously.
a lot of floppage, no contract awarded here, very rightly, of course. So, perhaps maybe Lecca comes back at some point with a little bit more finishing ability. Because really, I like sad to say, but I think that if there was a finish in this fight, there might have been a contract awarded just because of what I had said. I think that they are actively seeking out wrestlers at heavyweight. So the only thing that sets you apart really is getting that finish if you're going to go wrestle heavy. So, that doesn't mean necessarily that Lecca, is out of the game completely if he just goes and gets the ability to actually cinch up a choke or, start getting the ground and pound going, a little bit better cardio. I think that there are some adjustments that can be made, but they are major adjustments that need to be made.
100%.
So, all right. Shout out to the chat, by the way. We didn't give a shout out to the chat coming in here, but TJF, Beeb, and Hydra holding it down in the chat. Appreciate you guys being here early. Thank you very much for rocking with your boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, shout out TJF, especially Hydra, Beeb. You guys are awesome. Love you guys.
True, true. All right, moving on to the next one here. This was Michael Oliveira versus Victor Valenzuela. This was a pretty good one here, especially compared to the last one. Oliveira has a very like he keeps a real high like arch in his back. Like the stance is very pronounced for him, and the movement is not impeded by it. So I was kind of impressed with the way like he like carries himself in general. I think he's got an interesting like control of the cage because of like his presence.
What's interesting to note, and I think it's maybe has something to do with what you're talking about. When I watched Michael Oliveira, when I watched him walk into the cage, and then I'll ask my question. When I watched him walk into the cage and walk out the door, push the doors open, it looked as if he had like if he was like bow legged or something. Like he was limping visibly, in my opinion. And
Hmm.
so I was very concerned. I was like, "Holy shit, this dude's limping into the cage." obviously didn't cause an issue in the fight, but very, very interesting to note. Like he was hobbling, like it was. I
Maybe
don't
he
know.
just has swag, bro.
Maybe that is hilarious. Anyway, I want to know before we go into these other fights. I want to ask your question or ask the question: do you think Michael Oliveira was the most impressive prospect on this episode?
Well, I mean, he was the spinning elbow
No,
knockout. No, no, okay. Then I mean, was he the most impressive? No, I don't think so. Actually, because the next fight I believe is the one who was the most impressive.
the most impressive fight or fighter.
The most impressive fighter based on what he had coming back
Okay,
at.
okay, we'll talk about that then. I believe Michael Oliveira is the most impressive prospect on this episode, and I'll tell you why. This guy won as at welterweight. He genuinely looks like a middleweight. Like this was Jared Cannonier at welterweight right here. Like this was a massive fucking guy. Very actually, now that I say Jared, very good comparison because this dude won very composed, very methodical with he just walks you down. He never gets uh overwhelmed in the firefight. He's always just targeting you, tracking you down, and his punches clearly wear. Valenzuela, he was wearing damage on his face by the end of the second round. By before the finish, of course. And his face was just black and blue, both of the eyes busted up, swollen shut damn near, and he's, bleeding out of his nose. Michael Oliveira is just a Terminator walking towards him still, just ready to just unload. He's knocking him down left and right. What I want to note also about this, I think this was kind of a hand me uh, matchup for Michael Oliveira because, in my opinion, when I see Victor get knocked down and his first instinct is not to figure out which planet he's on. His first instinct is immediately to get his butt to the cage. I'm like, that's a person who's been knocked down before. That is a person who has been punched in the face plenty of times. And it's not like
True.
he did it once or like the first time and he did no, every single time he hit the mat, his back was scooting to that cage. So he knew something. Like he had already been somebody susceptible to getting knocked down, in my opinion. That's the way that I saw it.
I
But
do recall the butt scoot very clearly now that you say that. Yes.
yeah, so when I think of Michael Oliveira, I think the most impressive performance because A, he walked in and walked out, no damage, no problem. I mean, he was getting tagged in that first round, but honestly, no wear, no tear. And he was rolling a lot of them. They were like kind of grazing punches, like they made a slap, but like obviously he kept walking forward and nothing happened. Then when he started actually going for the finish, like the dude doesn't really he has a power level that is like consistently 80%. And then when the 100 comes, it's like, all right, now you're on the mat and you're butt scooting away from this fucking dude because he's gonna drop hammers. I I genuinely think this is more of an impressive performance because it is the consistent. Like we saw a lot of stuff right here, and this was a consistent. And he didn't take damage. He got three knockdowns, of course. Got the knockout in the second round. This is better than having a close fight and then getting one crazy moment that we'll talk about later in this card, but something like that, and or in the next fight where you almost lost twice. And like
Well, that's
Michael
kind of why I
Oliveira,
like. Yeah. No.
I mean, I agree. I like that portion of it, but in my opinion, when it comes to the prospects, it's like this dude
Well,
kind of showed that he's a Terminator.
yeah, no, you're definitely right. He looked UFC ready from the second
Yeah,
this thing started. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I will definitely say that he like coming into this, like this guy, like it was very obvious that like there was no figuring things out as far as like how to conduct yourself in the cage. This guy is like he's been there, done that. He is ready for prime time for sure. He's ready for the big show. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was talking about with his like presence. Like you can definitely tell that this guy's got a command of the cage. He's got a command of the fight, and his opponents are going to have to meet him halfway to even have a chance to stay neck and neck with him because Valenzuela was. He was like consistently a step behind, not necessarily because he wasn't trying, but because you had this towering person in front of you who was doing everything right. So yeah, I definitely do agree with you there. There was a lot of skill. in Michael Oliveira. He was one that, like, if we talked about like the first fight where maybe you'd be a little concerned about that person coming into the organization and Schultz, this guy coming into the organization is going to do just fine. Like, he's going to be a dude to watch out for sure.
Yeah, and shout out Hydra. Yes, he was in the Brazilian military or something
Yeah, I was
like
going to
that. So
highlight that. Yeah, he was indeed a paratrooper. He's a military personnel member down there in Brazil. So obviously some built-in skill set based on that he's carrying over into MMA and doing very effectively.
yeah, and once again, I ask, what do they feed Brazilians? Because this guy here, I mean, holy gosh, he's just this is UFC ready. This is the look of a UFC ready fighter, and obviously the performance of somebody who I think is UFC ready, and that's why he gets a contract. So shout out
That's
to him.
indeed. He's on that MRE diet down there in
Yes.
Brazil. Those paratroopers, perhaps, but either way, the dude is yeah, he's ripped. He's amazing, and he is definitely going to be taking heads off. So this is a prospect for sure. That confidence level is very high.
Yeah. And actually, that's
Yeah.
actually Cook Hydra. Cook with that comment right there.
Uh,
Bad on the knees if it was paratrooper. I mean, that's why he has the hobble.
Oh, could be. Yeah. Well, I mean, perhaps think that is the case. I mean, maybe there is a foil in the armor then to an extent, something to keep an eye on. Perhaps if you see him having it taking any kind of knee kicks to like the side of the knee, that the nerve that gives out. Sometimes you see fighters like have to kind of do that side step or whatever. I mean, keep an eye out for that perhaps, and maybe that's the Achilles heel.
Hmm.
But we'll come to that bridge and cross it when we come to it, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about the acumen of Michael Oliveira. I want to definitely highlight this fighter who won here. This fight is Marwan Rahiki versus Anais Malumba. Rahiki,
Those are two names right there.
I know, dude. Yeah, exactly. You got Rahiki from Australia, but I believe he is, I want to say
Moroccan.
Moroccan. Yes, exactly. He's by way of Morocco. And Lumba is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So international affair here, of course. But yeah, I mean, Rahiki was taking some heavy opposition because Malumba came out and wanted to take heads off from the jump. He was throwing some crazy shots. And I mean, crazy and not even in the best sense of the word, because it was a little wild. What I said about him and kind of remains consistently from what I've been seeing over the last, maybe year or so, as we've been seeing fighters come in, is that the Democratic Republic of Congo has a few pieces of the puzzle, but not the full picture when it comes to mixed martial arts. The physique and the power is certainly there, but the actual the control of the skill set is not there for the training that they're getting in the DRC just yet. So shout out to Rahiki for being able to navigate this, because he got dropped a couple of times. It was getting a little hairy for him, and he stayed the course and was able to get the job done himself in that second round. So I thought that this was really impressive.
This one, I'll start by talking about Malumba, uh, because there's more to talk about with Rahiki. But Malumba, when we were watching the fight, I remember Elite saying like, "This is Dana's going to give them both contracts," and I thought in the moment, I don't think so. Obviously, I think the winner needs to go. Or well, the fight was over at the time, but uh, what I will say is that Malumba didn't necessarily show. I mean, if he would have got the finish, okay, boom, there you go. Write your ticket. You got him with a nice overhand, and he dropped him, and the ref stepped in. Which, arguably, that first drop, I mean, he had a lot of fucking time. I mean, those were a lot of unanswered shots, but he did respond when the ref said fight back. So either way, when you get to the second knockdown, which is a really funny moment, I don't know if you caught it. They're showing the replay of the overhand that caught Rahiki and dropped him. And in that same moment, you're watching it, and then you watch the same overhand hit him in the chin again. It's like you're seeing double.
It was
And
that knockout inception.
yeah, and then so Rahiki's going flying across the cage again, and you're like, "Holy shit! Did that just happen?" But the fact that Malumba only showed me he can throw one hell of an overhand. I mean, that's basically all that he showed me at the end of the day, because he was getting worked over. Once he didn't get the finish, he blew his gas tank, probably, but he still had a little bit left. Like they were striking for a good amount of time back and forth. Like this first round, to be honest, this was one of those first rounds where it end like when you're watching the second round, you look down and you're like, holy shit, there's still another one of these. Like these dudes were killing each other in this first round. Like holy
Yeah.
shit, because Mr. Rahiki here, obviously one of these other fucking chads, like these are the type of fighters, like again, you don't know until it happens, and that's what's beautiful. You got to ride for your guys before you know if they're people who quit on themselves or not. Rahiki, we know that this dude won't fucking quit on himself, because in the first round, again, he gets dropped with an overhand, gets a lot of time to fight back. He ends up getting up, and then he drops Malumba back with it. This one was actually not much of a drop. If you watch it in slow motion, he kind of caught him on the chin and
Yeah,
he
it's
tripped a little bit.
did one of those double back.
It was good for the visual. The
Mm.
crowd went crazy. They gave it to him on paper, sure, but then Malumba drops him with the same overhand, and this one was crazy because you could tell Rahiki's legs just didn't want to work, but he was trying, man. He was in one of those dream sequences where your legs are just not fucking working, and then he finally falls down. He ends up getting up, Tide's turn. There was a massive spinning elbow that he hit Malumba with. And that was a really good one. I don't know if you noticed, anytime Malumba gets hit, he has a really like telling reset. Like he's like, all right, good job. And then he pulls up his shorts and like, very, very telling. These are all things that I think he'll work on if he gets another opportunity, which I think he will. But Rahiki, just able to work towards a finish even when he's on the brink of fucking death, because these
Well,
are two crazy shots that he got dropped with.
yeah, and what I wanted to say about that is that Rahiki was at the time at least a 6-0 fighter, now 7-0, of course, so undefeated. When you, from what I had gathered, at least, it seemed like he did not necessarily have like the craziest opposition in his previous fights. Like I don't know, it'd have to go and see like the actual nuts and bolts of those fights, but like the way that he conducts himself, like he definitely is pretty confident in there, and it would signal to me that like he might not have experienced that level of opposition as far as like getting dropped, having to have the wherewithal to get himself back into a reset and all of that. So like I think that this was a really telling fight for him. I mean, he even said it himself in the post fight. He was like, "Yeah, it's unlike anything that I had experienced in the cage before." And it's like that was another big reason why I'm pretty high on Rahiki after this, is because to be an undefeated fighter who probably has not experienced that level of opposition and having to be on your game to get yourself back into the fight after taking a hard drop, like that takes a lot of like quick wits. I mean, like, it's something that it's a high fight IQ deal. And it's also something that like just physically is taxing, like that not everybody's going to be able to shake the cobwebs off in the middle of a fight where this dude is trying to take your head off after you've already been dropped. It's just one of those things. That's why people crumble sometimes. They're just in a haze. They're in a fog. They can't come back. He was able to come back through some really, really heavy fire and flames. So I think that it was very telling that he was able to make those adjustments on the fly, get himself back in, and then the elbows that ended up being the finisher for him were very nice, man. They were some really nice chopping elbows that did the trick there at the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think this was more Malumbo definitely was tired. Malumba, excuse me, and he was definitely tired towards the end of the fight. And I
Sure.
think this was more of an exhaustion kind of giving out thing. Like those were some heavy elbows, but he obviously could have walked away if he wasn't exhausted. Like he just kind of waited for the impact, and we'll see what happens. And then an uppercut obviously sat him to the fucking mat. But this one was just a really fun performance, really telling performance of a young fighter. This is when it comes to storytelling, you often don't get the stories that are like really, I don't know, like the Contender series is always trying to sell the stories with the fighters before the fights, and oftentimes, you can get really wrapped up into it, and then you can watch a fighter that doesn't actually perform like they talk about. If you just witness what these people are willing to do to win these fights, I mean, it tells a story in of itself. Like you said, this is the first time that this dude's faced adversity like this, and what he was able to accomplish and what he was willing to do for a victory. I mean, I think this dude's got a bright future. I mean, he's 7-0. It sucks for me to see people come in with such low pro records as of right now to the UFC, because 7-0 is just like, okay, so 9-2 is almost inevitable. Like 2-2 in the UFC is pretty good, but like, what's the ask here? We're not going to have really good glorified records for these people, because Rahiki could have 2 wins immediately, and he gets shot up to anybody that you think of in featherweight, and that could be his first potential pro loss, and then it's already getting sketchy for a 9-1 fighter or whatever the heck he is at that point, and that's just, I don't know. I wish they were able to get more competition, but we see that with Australia particularly. Like if you look at Navajo Sterling. He was 4-0 coming into the UFC because he ain't got nobody else in Australia to fight him. Like, are we serious? Like, what are we talking about here? So
Well, I mean, it's that's the nature of the game, though, right? I mean, it's like if you do well, you move up. Like, what are they
yeah,
supposed to do? Just keep feeding you middle guys forever?
you are 100% right, actually. So fair point.
Yeah, so I mean that rise and fall on your own merits here. I think that Rahiki will show that that's the level that he's at based on fight over fight. That's how that's going to have to go for him. And if not, then we see where he ends up. But as of right now, I mean, I thought he was really sharp. He was very fast. He had really good kicks as well. I wanted to note that as well. I mean, like his kicks were really crispy at times. So yeah, I like him.
The crispness of his kicks, I definitely second. But there was moments. The moment that I agree with what you're saying, I can tell you exactly what he did. He threw like a hook kick around, and it didn't really land. And then he did like a stab side kick, and it was nowhere close. And I was like, he's got some pretty good kicks. Nowhere near the target, but it looked really good. It looked really good in those moments. So like, it's
Just
possible.
imagine if they had hit the
That's what
target.
that's what I'm saying. I was like, man, he looked the part. So shout out to Rahiki. Give you
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, look, as we always say, Contender Series is going to be one level of competition. We'll see what he's able to do against some higher level guys, some guys with UFC experience. But based on what I saw here, I at least think that he is going to be able to hang, and that's what I really am always looking for with these guys. Like, are you actually UFC caliber coming into the promotion, or are you a dude who we're going to be like, wow, he really got a contract? That's crazy.
So I mean, I think it's reasonable to say that since he's from Australia, by technicality, I guess, or nationality, I guess is the more, you know, he's probably going to get a pretty decent sized rocket strapped to his back. I would say. I mean, 7-0, and he's going to get a pretty decent sized name. I can't think of him off the top of my head in featherweight, but I can see it being somebody that we at least know, and it's not going to be some janitor.
Are you thinking that Australian privilege is a thing in the organization? Is that what you're saying?
It's got to be.
Gotta be. Well, all right. We'll see what the deal is then. I mean, if that's what ends up happening, then live up to it. That's all that I'm ever looking for, because it's like we get it. Like you mentioned Navajo Sterling, that's what we end up getting. And it's like, yeah, I mean, he is winning fights, but is it what you did? Are you getting out of him what you expected to get out of him with what you're doing with him? You know what I mean? Like, is he living up to the expectations that the organization has for him?
Yeah, to be honest, he's going to face off with one of the winners of this next weekend's card. So you should chill out with what you're saying on Navajo Sterling's name.
Well, perhaps we'll have to see, I guess. But shout out to Navajo Sterling. Shout out to Rahiki getting the job done. Um,
Hell
and
yeah.
yeah, I guess that's about it for that one. Also, shout out to CTESPN MMA saying that your boy looks like K Flow. I appreciate it, and I agree. Actually, I do think that that's accurate.
Don't know who it is, but what I do know is that if you come to the Contender Series and you are 14-1, how the fuck are you the underdog right now? How the hell are you the underdog? That's so much experience. And I don't care if they're all, bums. I mean, when you come from certain regions, I know Peru is 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 a little more smaller than just saying, Latin America or whatever you want to say, but he at least trains with Brandon Moreno. So he's in a system that's a little more evolved than just being some part of some ragtag team in Peru. He's part of a very good winning culture. He's 14-1. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and just to introduce it, this is
Oh,
Quan Juan Il versus Juan Diaz, and you're talking about Juan Diaz here.
yes, yeah. Juan Diaz is, again, talk about Latino chin, guys. This guy, again,
Yeah.
can take a fucking punch. He can throw so many of them. He's really good at just setting a very high pace and keeping good volume strikes. And, you know, it's not necessarily anything too impressive, in my opinion. This is why I gave Michael Morales the nod in like the skill for skill performances, is because Juan Diaz, very true to, you know, South American boxer. I mean, that's true to life. This is exactly what he is.
And what you ended up with in this fight was really just that. I mean, it was a hard spar for a lot of it, really. I mean, like, Quan Wan was trying to trying to get in there and get his shots, but they were at close range a good amount, and it really was just tag for tag a lot of this one.
Y-
So like it ended up kind of being a little bit more like it got a little bit more competitive, and then of course the finish happened, whatever. But like it I was not super impressed by this fight up until the finish. It was good. Like it was not a bad fight. It was certainly a back and forth affair that was even. So it was like, okay, it's competitive. I will definitely say that. But like I wasn't seeing like greatness. And then of course Juan Diaz started to like overtake a little bit more, and Quan just couldn't really keep up with that. And then the finish.
I actually want to give Juan Diaz a little more credit because, like I said, he is a true to life South American boxer, but he did apparently get 2 takedowns out of 6. He was shooting, so I'll give it that. I don't remember it per se, but if he was doing that and at least controlled him for 2 minutes, okay, he's a little more well rounded than I would assume based on what I remember. Because this fight, again, these were two dudes just striking with each other. You had Quan Wan. If you guys did not watch this, imagine what you think a 13-year-old Korean boy looks like. That is what you saw fight in this card. And and I go back to the record. I mean, 14-1 coming into this. If you look back a couple weeks ago with you when you have Martinetti, the dude was 16-1 or 15-1 coming in there. It's like the disrespect that they have on these guys. Like, who do they actually think that they've been fighting? You know, the people who are fighting the real cans, they're coming in at fucking 8-2 over there out of the Republic of Congo or whatever. Whatever the case may be, Juan Diaz was getting just so disrespected that I think having such a spectacular finish, hey, it's going to raise his stock perfectly. And it's not necessarily the performance as a whole, I don't think was going to be the stock raiser that he needed to get the respect. But since he got a flashy finish, people are going to remember that. And then I think he's obviously at 15-1 now. He's coming into the UFC from Peru. That's going to be a very high caliber name out of Peru, of course, and coming into bantamweight. I mean, coming off the first spinning knockout elbow or whatever they said it was. I mean, this is going to be some pretty good stock for him, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, talk about perfect finish. This certainly was that. What I had said about this specifically is that, a spinning elbow knockout takes three components to be effective and actually knock a person out. It takes the accuracy, it takes the speed, and it takes the placement. And he had all three of those down the line, exactly what you needed. It was perfectly placed. It had the exact amount of power on it, and it was thrown with the speed that, to give the power, like, for those to go hand in hand with one another. And I mean, that, like, you just saw this thing land, and it was like, oh yeah, that's a knockout. So it certainly was all of those things. Again, if you pair it with the rest of this fight, it's hard to say that, like, because I mean, the whole thing when it comes to a spinning elbow knockout in general is like, are you going to be able to replicate that? Like, it's like,
Mhm.
it's really kind of one of those. I don't never want to say it's fluky, but it's just a hard thing to think that would be consistent ability that a person would have. I mean, we'll talk about a fighter on the main card coming up that has a skill that he does very well and gave him his nickname, and he was able to pull off. So it's like, it's not impossible to make that your thing, but like when people start to know that that's the thing, then they'll be a little bit more aware of it and probably be able to set up for it a little bit better to not allow it. But so I don't know. I think that like, paired with the entirety of the performance, I would like to see a little bit more out of Juan Diaz going into the organization. But certainly, all of what you said is very true. I mean, a spinning elbow knockout like that is certainly. I mean, it's an instant highlight. It's like
Yes.
you're gonna be seeing that knockout on every intro package for this guy coming up from now until the end of his time in the organization.
Well, and he's actually giving Peru once a pretty good name. You have what was Ochoa? I mean, he's pretty decent. and he's a finisher as well. It's given a pretty good name to Peruvians, and I like to go ahead and think that this dude's going to be pretty good. I'm telling you guys, 15-1 is a really good, like, dude, 7-0 for the dude entering the UFC, or 15-1. This is a lot of experience. I don't care if you think they're cans. I mean, he was handling business, and it looks like he knows what he's doing. It's just all that I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, as far as Quan One Ill goes, I didn't see enough out of him to think that there really was anything there. So we're gonna
Mate,
have to
he
see.
got flatlined.
Well,
There was no, come on.
Aside from the end, though, I mean, we're talking. We had an entire full round and a half, or not a round and a half,
Two
but
rounds.
yeah, for almost two full rounds. I mean, this knockout was at the very end of the second round. So I mean, it's like we had two full rounds of not much. So it's like, aside from him being flatlined, it's like, had the elbow not happened, we probably would have just had another third round of that, and then it just would have been whatever, you know.
What I will say, and I'm not trying to create stereotypes, I think Koreans do a very good job of living up to a stereotype of people who are sincerely game when the cage door closes. This kind of made me, when I watched this performance right here, and I know we have a lot of Koreans who look up to the Korean Zombie. When you watch his retirement fight with Max Holloway, that was the only live performance that I've ever seen of the Korean Zombie, and I thought that he was willing to just say fuck the game plan. Like, Max, just fucking fight me. I'm walking forward, hands up, punch me. I'll punch you back. And he obviously got his ass whooped, but like, I respect the effort. And like, when I see Quan Wan in this, I'm like, these guys truly do want to, like, they just want to kill each other in the cage. And like, I respect that. They go for it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Korean Zombie because, you know, what I had said about this fight too was that it reminded me very much of the Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez, where Korean Zombie said, "Hey, let's throw down,"
Yeah.
and Yair caught him with a spinning elbow that knocked him out. So, you know, Koreans susceptible to the spinning elbow, perhaps, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case all the time. It's just kind of what happened here and what happened there as well. So coincidence, perhaps, but yeah, definitely game though. Yeah, definitely game, and you know, just I guess need to have the defense to back that gameness up, right?
I don't think so. I think it's more of just be a Chad and just see how it works out. You know, fuck it.
Fuck it, indeed. Well, so we'll see if Quan Wan ends up coming back, but I didn't see enough to think that he should. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, well, let's finish this thing out here with Freddie Vidal and Levi Rodriguez, or Levi Rodriguez, I believe, Brazilian guy here as well. So yeah, Freddie Vidal coming back for his second go around this season. Of course, he was on the show earlier. He had come in on short notice, looked a lot better physically coming into this fight, but did not perform much better.
I want you guys to just go ahead and remember this guy is a gym teacher. Like, literally, and that's just the straight up facts. He is a gym teacher. Should you feel bad that you thought he was going to beat somebody who trains and grew up training Muay Thai, a black belt in Muay Thai at that, at light heavyweight? I was skeptical to believe that we're going to see this big old Muay Thai guru, you know? We just don't normally see Muay Thai specialists. But when it comes to one in the region of Asia, we don't see larger Muay Thai specialists. Brazil, I'm starting to realize that's possible. They train Muay Thai down there, and they can be larger than life because Brazilians obviously eat the other Brazilians around there and just double in size. So this dude actually showed that he knows, one, Muay Thai drills, because that is what this finish was. This was a drill on the bag. This guy, Freddie Vidal, got his second opportunity. Dana White blessed this man with two chances on national television. And he came in here and did the exact same boring shit that he was doing in the first fight. Dana, dude, did you hear?
He ripped him apart on
He
the during the contracts.
yeah, so very warranted. But
Yeah.
Levi Rodriguez, I think I'm very again, I love to see the knees that finished it. It was a good one. Good knees, good little clinch work. But I would just like to see more. I would like to see more out of this Muay Thai Brazilian light heavyweight.
Well, definitely that. And I mean, it is light heavyweight, so you know, that style can be effective. We've seen Khalil Roundtree do pretty okay with it at times, but then we've also seen the opposite. So I'm going to need to see a lot more and a higher level of opponent for sure before I'd be putting any kind of backing on Rodriguez here. But yeah, I mean, Freddie Vidal really is the story of this fight, unfortunately for him. I mean, also being a Serra Longo guy, you'd think that there would be a little bit more to him than that. But yeah, comes in there immediately trying to clinch on the cage. I think that was Dana's big note. He comes in trying to hug on the cage like he did in the first go around. It's like, what did you think was going to be different? Getting your stomach in shape is not going to change the outcome of your fight if you're going to have the exact same attack strategy, which is what he did. So shout out to Rodriguez for recognizing that, saying this is exactly what I need to do against the guy who's going to do this. And he did just that. I mean, he came in with a solid strategy that worked for him. And yeah, Vidal just kind of really, he airballed his shot, which is unfortunate when you get a second one, which is rare on this show.
Especially in the same season turnaround.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
What I think is really funny also is, so after people win fights, on the Contender Series, they go over to Dana and they're like, thank you for the opportunity, I appreciate it. After this fight, Levi Rodriguez is just, walking around doing his thing. Dana's going to him, hey, thank you for this performance. Like,
yes,
holy
thank
shit.
you for getting Freddie Vidal out of my hair.
Yes, literally. So that was pretty funny.
Unfortunate, but
yeah.
yeah, no, fine win and a fine way to close this thing out. So Rodriguez got a contract. So did Juan Diaz. We didn't go through all the contracts, but yeah, Rodriguez, Juan Diaz, Rahiki got a contract, and Michael Oliveira definitely got a contract. No contract in the heavyweight fight, and Wes Schultz also got a contract as well.
Yeah, so this was a good season finale, a little bit of everything that you love in all of the episodes of Contender Series. So shout
Yeah,
out to them.
it was a good way. It's always bittersweet when the Contender Series ends because I love it so much. But we build anticipation for the next go around of it, and we did find out that it will be on Paramount Plus. So thank God for that. We don't have to worry about doing split services and all that kind of garbage. The Contender Series is moving along with the UFC to the new platform. So happy about that as well.
I'm telling you, I think it's very possible, guys, we're gonna get a second season or potentially a longer season of Contender Series because 7 years of Paramount, they're gonna milk it. They're gonna figure out what is the best opportunity to get the Contender Series where it needs to be, and if they're moving it to Paramount, more episodes or another season. There's
Well,
plenty of fighters in this world.
and I have never been more for anything in my life, if that is the case. I know you say I'm not on Twitter very often. I did see somebody on Twitter make a Galaxy Brain comment that the Contender Series is like the college football of the UFC. I think that is somewhat accurate. I think that there are definitely parallels, and if that is the case, then I am as big a college football fan as you could ever be. So if they want to do more of it, if they want to do a second stint of it, whatever they do, if there's more Contender Series, I am absolutely here for it.
Yeah, 100%. 100.
So there you have it. That is the Contender Series for the year. Of course, we will be covering it when it comes back around. But now we must go over to UFC Fight Night, DeRitter versus Allen, which took place in Vancouver, Canada at the Rogers Arena. Before we get to the card, of course, wanted to shout out the homie Sarah Toby. Was going to save it for the plugs at the end of the show, but I guess this is a good enough a time as any to mention to you fine people that Friday, if you are aware, we've been doing our Friday free-for-all streams where we cover all the weird and wonderful and interesting stories from around the great sport of MMA. This Friday, we are going to be joined by none other than Sarah Toby to give us the lowdown on Tom Aspinall and his camp and all of the insider information that she is privy to about the champion. So if you are around on Friday night, make sure that you tune in and hang out with myself, Chase, and the queen, Sarah Toby.
Hell yeah, no, that's going to be a good episode. Obviously, we got to start rounding up these news articles, make sure to keep you guys updated for this Friday. So if you have anything that you want us to talk about before the show, make sure you reach out to us and send us those links so we can be prepared, so we don't have to be on the spot thinking about what did Irina Alekseeva pop for the last time she was suspended for the UFC. Things like that. Shout out Hydra. All I'm saying.
Absolutely. No, most definitely. Join the Discord, join the Thinker Discord. You can join the MMA Hive over there with Chase. There's plenty of opportunities to get in touch with us if there are specific stories that you want us to cover.
100%, 100%.
All right, so we got to get into this Canada affair here. This was again UFC Fight Night, DeRitter versus Allen. All fighters made weight for this card, so that's a good start off to this thing. Good footing to begin this card that had a whole lot of wackiness and a whole lot of weirdness. First impressions of this thing, Chase.
First impressions that on paper this was not the greatest card. This was a little lackluster.
That was certainly also the impression from what we got inside of the Rogers Arena, considering that there had been some speculation that this card was not selling very well, similar to the situation in Australia recently with their most recent fight night, that there was a little bit of a speculation about ticket sales being low. I do recall at one point seeing an entire bank of seats being empty. I'm sure that probably filled out over the course of the evening, but again, just speculation. I don't know what the actual gate was on this card, but it could very well be because of the quality of it. And, definitely the main event taking a hit with Fluffy Hernandez having to drop out. That was a big factor in this, I would say, as well. And of course, what we ended up getting was something I don't think anybody could predict. So, yeah, I guess that's my first impression of it.
Yeah, I'm ready to just get right into it.
I would say so. Let's do it. Let's start off this thing with the first fight of the evening. This was Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. What'd you think?
This one was like we sometimes get these. The UFC knows how to match make a woman's fight to start off a UFC card. They 100% know how to make you watch two women who genuinely do know how to strike with each other, and they're willing to put their face in front of punches just to give some back. And this was a really close performance up until the finale, I thought. What was interesting to note about this is that the first round was very close. Second round started, and you could notice that Melissa Croden was like actually winded. Like she was out of it up until basically the halfway mark in that second round. And then she. This is, I think, this is what you would call intangibles. She has something that not many people have. She had the ability to turn the momentum back into her favor right at the halfway mark. So round one was close. Round two is certainly leading towards Lisboa, and you're thinking, oh my God, Croden's gassing. Lisboa's going to take over, and potentially she already won the first round. She's going to win this one and the next one. But Croden was able to just kick on the Jets and have if anybody out there is a big fan, and maybe you shouldn't be a big fan just because of the people who created it, but Drake and Josh was a great show back in the day, and there was a joke in there, and they're like, "What does E mean?" Maybe it means extra fuel. This is what Croden had right here. The E light went on, and she was able to finish a round strong. And not only the round, she came into the third round with extra energy and finished her. It was a great performance. I'm not gonna lie, and she's pretty fucking massive, by the way. So
True. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. She is, especially compared to Lisboa for
yeah,
sure. She was really towering over her at times. Yeah. No. I honestly, I think that you really nailed that assessment. That was really spot on. I said that Croden was scaling for late game. If that was an intentional move, then amazing. If it wasn't, and she was just able to dig deep, that's even more impressive. Because I mean, this was a little bit. The first round was a little bit of a spar. It turned up a little bit at the end. It was somewhat slow. It wasn't necessarily like keeping interest 100%. I thought that Lisboa had some nice boxing combinations. She's got fast hands, at least early in the fight. And she was getting past Croden's ranged attacks well, because like you said, Croden was bigger. So like she was having to get past the, the teeps and the legs and stuff. So that was all pretty decent there. I thought that Lisboa had a good handle on the fight up through that first 1.5 rounds. I mean, it was straight shots that were messing up Croden's nose. The clinch control was there as well. And then all of a sudden, like you said, halfway through the second, Croden just flips the switch. She turns the fuck up. I mean, she reverses the clinch, lands those heavy shots, and then she does a really, really nice sequence where she walked forward punching, which we've seen from other fighters, like do it to like, get the opponent on the back foot. But Croden was actually like landing those shots as she was going forward. Like she might have missed one or two, but like kept the pace of the march so that she actually got a couple of those off. And it was like, that's that's some really impressive work right there, especially for a lady who had already been taking some decent amount of strikes, at least in volume. Power is whatever, but like the volume was certainly there on both sides. So this was a really big turnaround for Croden, and she basically just overwhelmed Lisboa after she ended up gassing. So I mean, smashed her until she couldn't continue and gets the TKO. I was curious if you thought it was a slightly early stoppage, but I didn't necessarily think so. It was maybe slightly questionable, but not not enough to make a thing out of it.
I don't think I remember in the moment. I don't like I wasn't gonna bring it up because it wasn't a big deal to me. She was getting her ass handed to her for
Right.
so
Yeah.
rightfully so. I mean, and yeah, and I think Hydra, how is Croden the Canadian woman who got a finish on
I
Saturday?
know. Yeah.
Especially the reason why that's also so important. Not just why is she the Canadian woman, but she's also just a Canadian woman. We don't know who she is. Like she just kind of came in out of nowhere, and magically she might be potential top of bantamweight division material. So
There you go. Exactly. That's what I was just going to say too. It's like she's the Canadian that could be next up based on a performance like this. I mean, we'll have to see what she can do against higher level competition, of course. But she certainly went out there and was able to flip game on Lisboa in a way that I don't think anybody could have seen coming based on the first 1.5 rounds. So really impressive there. And also, Chase, I quite enjoy her nickname. Her nickname being Scare Croden. I was like, okay. I honestly thought it would have been kind of maybe harder if she was just the Scarecrow, but either way, I'm good with it though. I think it's pretty cool.
I also do remember it because it's not Scare Croden. It's Scare. Her nickname is Scare. So
Well, she's
Melissa
Melissa Scare
Yes,
Croden,
but
right?
it's even more funny because like obviously like you said it could be Scarecrow and they could call her Scare Croden, but like no, it's specifically Scare because it goes with Scare Croden. Like and it's unique in a way that anybody else would be the Scarecrow or Scarecrow, but no, she's Scare Croden, and I kind of dig it. It is pretty fucking funny. Like
Yeah, yeah, I like it. And Hydra coming in saying that he didn't like the stoppage and it was just extra crap on top of crap when it came to the refing. Trust, we will get to that, brother, because
maybe yeah,
plenty,
maybe I
plenty
just
to say about
forgot
it.
how bad this one was because of the other ones
Oh
that
no,
we're
no,
gonna get
this
into.
this was minor compared to what we will be talking about. That's why I said at the start of this thing we got a lot to talk about. Trust that we are going to get to all of
Yeah,
it, and there is plenty more, plenty worse than this one for sure.
yeah,
So yeah, good performance for Croden though. A nice way for her to enter the UFC.
yeah, 100%.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is Azamat Bekoyev, I guess is how they pronounce it. Azamat Bekoyev versus Yusri Belgarwi. Of course, we had talked a little bit about Belgarwi on last week's show, and I was saying that I didn't remember the exact weirdness from his Contender Series fight. Well, I went back and listened to our show. It turned out that Belgarwi ended up getting a point deduction for eye pokes in that fight, and then did not get a contract. So I am happy to report here that Belgarwi did not poke any eyes in this fight. So really, aside from that, I had no other preconceived notions of him aside from knowing that. That being said, I thought he conducted himself pretty well in this fight.
What I will say, and this is genuine, and I hope Rawand is at home and he gets to listen to this
Shout out to
someday.
Rwand.
I mean this in the most positive way possible. That when I lose to you, I do feel something inside. It hurts because, and I've been wrong about fighters before. Like I can, sure he showed out. Like actually, Yusri had a really good performance. I can totally admit he made me eat a lot of words, and it's not even like I just don't like this dude or anything. It's just I was skeptical to believe that he was anything decent. Bekoyev has definitely proven that he's been something before. So I would like to see you, show me what's up. And I might have been a little overconfident in Bekoyev. Sure, I'm okay with that. I've been wrong before, but the fact that Rwand was so high on Yusri for the fact that he's Alex's training partner really makes me want to root against him. But the fact is, maybe Alex is just that good of a training partner, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this was
Or
a
just,
great performance.
well, yeah, don't take it away from Belgarwi. I mean, maybe he's just decent in
No, he
general,
is.
you know. I mean, I think that's what you gotta, what the real takeaway has to be. Because I mean, I'm the same way too. It's like you see Rwand in the Discord just so confident. Like, I mean, the stuff that he says sometimes, and we know that he's being a little
Yes.
hyperbolic on purpose, but like it's constantly just this barrage of glaze coming out of this guy. So it's like your kind of natural reaction is to be a little bit repelled by it. But shout out to Rwand. He is the GOAT though. But no,
100%.
and also, I mean, I was the same way though. I thought that Bekoev, was going to come in with a little bit of what he did. Actually, I thought that he was doing okay in the first round. I thought that, like, trying to close distance, get through the long limbs was the right way to go, and he had some success with that. But the unfortunate fact of the fight was that Yusri actually is pretty good at getting back to his feet. I mean, what we saw here is that he is takedownable. Like, I mean, this guy can be taken down. So that's a note for other, other middleweights and stuff. But like, in this fight specifically, I thought that he did a good job of navigating the ground positioning and all of the things that that Asmat was bringing to the table. And then afterwards, finally, we see a tall guy who's not tall for nothing. That is the big takeaway that I had, was that so many times we have seen these tall fighters not using their limbs at range. This guy was actually kicking and punching at range a little bit, using all of his weapons pretty effectively, and just ended up overwhelming Azamat after he allowed him to get his game plan off, and it did not succeed.
There's two things that I want to say. The first thing I'll say, I want you to chew on it real quick.
Sure.
Yusri, his fighting style and the way that he fights, kind of, and just the way that his body is shaped a little bit too, kind of reminds me a little bit of Alistair Overeem before he started going crazy on the roids. That's just my think on that for a second.
Eh,
Bokoyev, I will say that I remember having the discussion with the Mank in the Discord, and he said Bokoyev's going to get him down and choke him out. He's a Russian guy. He knows grappling, and I was very confident that that was not even a possibility. Bokoyev smashes people when he gets him down. When Bokoyev was wrestling with Yusri, he lacked the ability to threaten any finish on the ground because Yusri, he's just had no problem getting right to his knees, standing right up. There was no threat for him to get his neck taken. There was no threat for him to get any sort of submission attempted on him because Bakoyev doesn't practice it apparently. His game plan was to just get him down and smash him. And when we were in the position of getting up and halfway, he didn't have the knees to the body or the pepper in the strikes or, the collar tie or switch to the neck, cradle him, anything like that. Bakoyev was lacking. All he had was that shitty fucking. Listen, Habib was able to make it work. It was a different time as well when you pipe the leg, you wrap the legs up, and then you can just sit on them and just people are getting wise to that and they're able to slip their legs out. Especially with Yusri, if you sit on his ankles, dude, you're still 4 feet away from his face. Like
right. Yeah.
so it was unfortunate for Bakoyev to not seem like he had the in between game of the ground and then the striking. He didn't have the cage work where Yusri's going to have one knee up and one knee down type of position. And I think that's really where it messed up because if he was able, we've seen what Bakoyev has been able to do in grounded positions with not much, time to set up. Like he just gets to the ground and he smashes people, right? If he was able to somewhat smash in the middle ground positions that we were witnessing or at least attempted, it's like he probably would have had some success. Like he's pretty powerful when it comes to just landing some that just happen to knock you out. He didn't really have that here. And I think that's really what fought because when it got to the striking, Yusri, great at range, great striking at range, decent power. Bakoyev, what I will say is Bakoyev actually was getting to the inside of the striking a decent amount of time, like you were saying, in the first and beginning of the second round, especially. There were some shots where I was like, he's going to tire him out and that overhand's going to land. He couldn't, he almost had it right there. But he just didn't have it. He
Well,
just
and
didn't
that was also going to be my note too. Is that in the flip of that is that, like, he was doing so much work to get past the range and to close the distance, that I think that it is very unfortunate what you were talking about, that like those middle sequences not being there. Is it's like he tired himself out just doing the
yeah.
initial work. That it's like you really got to have you have to have the cardio to back that up and keep going through the sequence, and then also actually make the attempts on that. So you're right. It's like it's a two-pronged thing with that, and not having both of those elements of it really kind of signaled a bit of a problem for him, especially as the fight went on, because, by that third round, the body language was terrible. I mean, he came into that third round looking very, very tired. And Belgarwi, I mean, for a big guy, like didn't seem like much of a cardio issue there. I guess that the kickboxing base, works out for him with that. But being able to get back to his feet didn't tire him out. I mean, he came out really, really fresh, as Bukoyev was really, really gassed, and the striking was pretty clean. So kind of an understandable conclusion to everything. But that's why what you were talking about is so important when you do have the control.
Yeah, I think I'm going to double down on it, guys, and I think it's going to become more apparent in the future. Belgari, young Alistair Overeem, Pride
Yeah.
era Overeem.
Yeah.
I can see it. I
I
can see
mean,
it.
I think he's a little. I mean, Alistair Overeem was tall. I don't know if he might still be a little bit. I don't know if Alistair Overeem was ever as slender as that. I know he was definitely thinner than Ubereem, of course, but
Right.
But yeah, I made look, if that is I'm sure that he would appreciate that comparison. So if he can live up to that, then A plus.
And listen, I mean, I'm not trying to, hop on the bandwagon, but like I can see the vision now. If this is what he can do to succeed against somebody like Bukoyev, I'll have confidence in him. Bukoyev was pretty good in my opinion. So
I was
so
going to say that too. I mean, like, generally a lot of times, because shout out to CTE again coming in. He was saying that Shara and Costa might be options or whatever, but it's hard to get hyped after a first Contender Series performance. This is exactly what we talk about. It's like, how is he going to look against actual UFC competition? That's what Bekayev is. I mean, like, he's had the experience in the cage. He brings the acumen that you would expect a fighter of UFC caliber to have. So for Belgarwi to come in here and do the things that he did, it actually does give me a decent amount of confidence. Granted, it's a very competitive division, so there's going to be a lot of other people who have a lot of different skill sets as he goes up. But I could certainly see him holding his own if that's what he's able to do against a guy who's going to try to take him down. Now, the people that are going to have those middle points that you were talking about, that could be the issue.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, when you look at somebody like, of course, I mean, this is somebody with god tier wrestling for the division. Anthony Hernandez, he's got the middle ground positions.
Of course.
Yeah, he's gonna fuck you over. So
Yeah. So we'll see what ends up happening for Belgarwi going forward. But I thought that this was a really nice way for him to make his entry, and shout out to him. I mean, he definitely did the job here.
shout out Andrew. I don't
Oh,
Shama.
yeah. Andy, my guy, going on a 30-day horse meat diet to get jacked and become uber Parton. I love this idea. I
I
love this
like it.
idea. There you
Yeah.
go. You see Chase just come in swole as hell.
Yeah, true. I'll be riding a horse too. I'll be riding a horse after eating my horse meat diet.
I love it. All right, well let's keep the train moving here. Next up was Stephanie Luciano versus Ravina Oliveira. I know that you had some preconceived instances of thought when it came to Stephanie Luciano. Did she exceed your expectations in this fight?
I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but Stephanie Luciano is one of the first, not just female fighters, but one of the first fighters in general that came from the Contender Series that I watched and said, "Holy shit! Like this is a dog. Like this is a dog who will not stop fighting until the bell's over." And she genuinely has showcased that in all of her performances that I've seen. The last one that she had, it was a split decision against Sam Hughes, I believe is what it was.
Yes.
And okay, fine, fair. This is why you work on your game, you work on your craft, and you come back even stronger. I remember before this fight started, I said Stephanie Luciano. I don't know if I said finish. I might have said TKO because she's a striker, of course, but finish likely in the third is always for her because she's one of these people who it's not downloading the data in the first round. I don't read that from her per se. I read it as just like she's putting on a performance that matches her opponent, and then we take off in the second. When she starts getting tired, that's when I start implementing the game plan. I'm just following her for the first round. I'm just matching what she's doing. There were times where in the first round where Stephanie was getting caught with a lot of shots. They weren't powerful like they were because Miss Oliveira is a very powerful striker, but Stephanie was doing a decent enough job of getting not taking the entirety of the impact, I would say. And so she looked a little sloppy in the first, but I think she was just playing catch up, playing follow. And then the second round turned it up, obviously doing a lot better in the striking. Third round, I don't even know how she even got to this position, but it doesn't even matter. Rear naked choke because she's Brazilian. She had to graduate kindergarten doing this shit. So let's fucking go. Love it.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, But I was not super enthused by this fight only because this is Oliveira's debut. Yes, she came coming in here is not what?
No, no,
This is
heck
not her
no.
debut?
She lost to Lisboa.
Oh, right. We did talk about that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess I must have just been doubly not impressed by that performance and thought that this was a debut. But either way, I mean, this is an early performance for Oliveira. Oliveira does not exude the attributes of a fighter of the caliber of the UFC, I would say. And I hate to keep saying this about female fighters because I had to say that about Alexieva recently, but some of the same, not necessarily the same notes, but the same feeling is what I'm getting from Oliveira, because exactly what you're saying about like Stephanie Luciano was able to just whatever you give me, I'm going to give you back a little bit better was a lot of what we had in this. This was a slow first round with some pretty even kickboxing. Luciano just technically sharper overall early in this fight and really kept that going through the first two. So it was like she kind of just was a little bit better, period. And like you'd think that Oliveira would recognize how even it is and have to be like, okay, I need to push one step farther than that. I got to like one up, if you're gonna one up me, I gotta one up you times two. Never really happened. So Luciano just continues to sail her way to victory into the third round and then finally gets that ground. Gets it to the ground rather and gets her on the cage and rear naked choke in the open mat. I mean, it was a pretty textbook fight, and that did not inspire any kind of grand level of confidence in Luciano, only because Oliveira was not giving her anything to really make it a heavy opposition like that she had to overcome.
The thing that I will note lastly, because I could go on for days talking about Stefano Luciano. I mean, obviously, again, Vegas knows she's good. Minus 300 coming in here. And I actually, I'll go back to what you said originally. You kind of compared her, Miss Oliveira, to Alexieva. These are levels, dude. Alexieva legit had not even the ability to throw a 1-2 and look like she knew how to block, like on the way back. Oliveira actually could throw a boxing combination. She actually could put power behind a punch. She could throw some leg kicks. How you miss damn near, what, 15 of them? Holy shit, girl. But she looked like a fighter. She actually looked the part and she came in shape and she landed strikes against somebody who, yeah, was taking the round off, but like, we got to keep it competitive for the fans. Come on, Stephanie. You can't bust her up in the first.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. I mean, and don't get me wrong here. I don't think that they're of the same caliber.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that I had just said that about her, and I'm kind of saying the same thing. Like the feeling is similar, but they're definitely completely different fighters for sure.
And speaking to the hottie betflation that Hydra is speaking about with Miss Stephanie Luciano, I don't know if you caught it. So you look at Stephanie Luciano in this picture, right? You obviously look and say that is a Brazilian woman, 100%. I could see her straight in Brazil. Now, when you hear her talk, she has the most harsh Brazilian accent, and it is very heartbreaking because she is so beautiful, and it sounds like she's been smoking cigarettes with Pratis. So
Okay, well, I mean, some people are into that, perhaps.
we'll see. But either way, Stephanie Luciano, great performance, and I am always here to watch another one. And like I
Uh,
said, one of the first people to get me like back into watching this sport live. Like
I,
she's awesome.
I would class this as hottie glazeflation right now, is what I think I'm
No,
hearing from
are
you.
you kidding me right now? Stephanie Luciano, chat. Let me hear it. Stephanie Luciano, she's definitely pound for pound, like 4 or 5. She actually was on the pound for pound list for a good amount of time. If you go back on the channel, you can find receipts. But either way, I think this was a very fun Brazilian versus Brazilian matchup on the Canadian card.
I was less than impressed with this one, but look, a fine win for Luciano though. I mean, I can't take away the victory for sure. And I mean, again, this is a rise to the levels kind of situation. It's like if Oliveira is not going to give you any more than what she's giving you, then you do exactly what Luciano did. So there's nothing to take away from the victory for sure. I just didn't think it was that great of a fight.
Where do you classify this performance with the performance from Luana Pinheiro, where she got a third round finish, but it was more or less that she was coasting in the lead comfortably, and then ended up getting the head kick finish on Miss Carolina, compared to this performance where it was very close ish, but it seemed like Stephanie was making it close. Like she wasn't taking away from it. I can see people having the criticism. I had the same criticism with Luana Pinheiro. Like, why weren't you going for the finish? I think it was Panera. Am I thinking?
No, you're talking about recently? No, that was a
What's her name?
the psycho.
Yes,
Yeah.
Luana. Is it not Luana? Something.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I'm blanking as
Fuck her.
well
It
here.
doesn't matter. Either way, Stephanie Luciano, I could criticize that she had a slow start and then work towards the finish in the same way that that woman did against Carolina. But I think Stephanie Luciano is a little more of a prospect in the sense where I see her growing into more. With that fighter from the other week, I'm not necessarily seeing that there's more to develop there. She didn't seem like she wanted to showcase more in that fight. She just wanted to do her thing, have fun, and then eventually she got tired of fucking playing around with her and then got her out the fight. This right here seemed like Stephanie had to still work towards the game plan. Like she struck with her, gassed her out, then got her down, then we choked her out. Like there was an inevitable, you know, inclination there. I don't know.
True. It was a Julia Pilastri, by the way, is who we were
That's
referencing.
who we're thinking about. Luana Pinheiro, again, another random Brazilian. My apologies.
No, but I get you. I mean, look, yeah, no, like all of that is fine. Like they're like, I'm just talking about this fight in this instance here. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like she certainly could. I mean, like, I guess the only thing I would say to that, like that thought process, is that if you get enough fighters in the same boat, then they have to start taking each other out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like eventually, you're just going to have the herd thinning naturally because like you're going to have an even across the board kind of like baseline of like the female fighter, and then who's just going to be able to be the one to rise up. And that is what Ravina here had the opportunity to do. She
yeah,
could have been the one to say, okay, I'm going to overstep you. I'm going to overtake you in this competition here. When you're able to get off all of what you want to do, I'm going to be a little bit more creative. I'm going to be a little bit faster. She just didn't have any like emphasis on any one element that elevated her beyond Luciano. So Luciano stayed the course down the line. Easy, pretty. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, a fairly easy win, I would say.
yeah. Yeah, no, this one was good. I like this one. 7-2 for her is unfortunate, but I think she's better than the record's gonna allude to. And that's most women's MMA.
She's
So
turning the corner. You're saying,
yeah,
yeah, I would. I think that might be somewhat accurate. We're gonna have to see her against a little bit higher level, I would say.
100%.
All right. Moving forward here, this is Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. This was a pretty sluggy matchup here. These guys were very comfortable throwing hands, and they were very comfortable doing it at very close range with each other. That was the note that I had, is that these guys were in each other's faces for a lot of this fight, and they were just winging shots. I mean, like, rock'em sock'em robots if you want to do it. Danny Barlow was much more game in this fight than he generally has been in fights past. I wanted to give him a little bit of credit even in defeat here, because there have been times with Danny Barlow where I've been like, I don't know if he really like is about it like that. Like, kind of been skeptical of him. He actually was willing to trade here. What are you looking at me skeptically for?
I think you're overrating potentially maybe 2 to 3 instances where Danny Barlow decided to stand and trade.
Oh
I
no, there was
I
more than that.
I think the majority of this, you had your same Danny Barlow standing on the outside, um, and not be willing to trade with those strikes. I thought that was majority of the, because when you watch Danny Barlow, and there's a reason that he doesn't necessarily stand and trade, like I believe, and in those 2 to 3 instances, he stood in there and he threw these wild haymakers. Sure. He's got a puncher's chance when it comes to that. But the reason he does that, and it worked well in those instances, and the reason he's not confident it would work in others, in my opinion, is because when you watch Danny Barlow, you see a fighter, which this is actually the craziest thing. You see a fighter who could throw a leg kick about as best as they come. Like, I mean, he looks damn good throwing a leg kick. Joe Rogan would be so fucking proud. But when it comes to striking with his hands, he does not have the ability to set up a 1-2. He doesn't have any boxing combinations. He has wild fucking haymakers. That is all he does. And that's why he's not willing to just stand in the pocket, is because he's just going to throw from the hip, and he's going to have so much real estate, especially for somebody like Jordan Santos, who is all in your face. He's got his hands ready. He's literally moving every single portion of his body. If you watch this dude fight, you got to get adjusted for a second, because every single, but he's got his hands, his wrists, his elbows, his shoulders, his neck, he's honestly making you have a stroke when you watch. But it works when you have somebody like Danny Barlow who's standing on the outside, and for them to open up strikes, it literally means for him to open up, disregard everything near his face, and throw meaty fucking hooks. And when he got backed up to the cage towards the end of those rounds, I agree he was willing to stand and throw those, but he's also 2 seconds out of it. He doesn't have much. I mean, I just don't see somebody who was willing to do that until he had like no other option. I'm against the fucking cage with 2 seconds left in the round. We'll see what happens. I thought it's unfortunate that Danny Barlow doesn't have the boxing to back up. Honestly, what is good kick. The kick part of the boxing is really good. He doesn't have the striking with his hands, and I think it's unfortunate because a guy like Jordan Santos, I mean, this, like, dude, the fact you lost unanimous decision to this and not even a split is kind of fucking crazy, Danny Barlow. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'll meet you a little bit halfway because I think that Barlow was more game than you're giving him credit for in this fight specifically. Because in fights past, I can certainly get behind more of what you're saying there. But here, I think it was more so because Santos was bringing the fight to him and he was making it close range. But there were at times, I mean, like early in this fight, they were like right in front of each other's faces, like from early in this fight. I would say, I mean, like almost like maybe like start of the fight. But you're definitely right about Santos with the awkward jitteriness. That is an interesting style to behold. Like it definitely catches you off guard because he is hand jiving like crazy. This
Yeah.
dude is really, really interesting with the motions of the hands, and it keeps you on your toes. I mean, you have to. But so I do think that he was the one like kind of pushing the pace with it. But Barlow was meeting him halfway for a good amount of this. Midway through the fight, I was like, Danny Barlow is doing nice work. You are correct as well, though, that like it's not combination based. It is definitely single shots. It is winging shots, and Santos was a lot more like volume plus power when he was actually setting things up.
Yeah, he also wasn't necessarily combinations. It was volume, but like Jordan Santos was just throwing his hands out there. It really wasn't like he was throwing a 1-2 and a hook. Like, he was just touching him up. And Danny Barlow's only fucking line of defense is just get hit and then just swing from my fucking hip. And it didn't work. I mean, this is why he unfortunately took a loss in this. Moving up to middleweight, it did he it makes you believe that like his only thought was like, okay, I have to go down a weight class because I'm severely lacking in the skill set that I have to just rely on knocking them out early. Because when you see somebody like Jordan Santos, this is like somebody who's never going to be ranked in the UFC most likely. Danny Barlow's debut just like got smoked by that guy. So, or his debut to the weight class. So like what's more to expect, you know? Like, sure, if this is the low point, it's like how much further can you go up? I mean, the basement, it must, you must be in the cellar if Jordan Santos is unanimous decision and you, like, I don't know.
True. Yeah. And also, I mean, the cardio aspect of it was a little questionable at the end as well. I mean, he ended up getting tripped in the third round and then just completely accepts it on the back. You know, DC was kind of chiding him for it. And I was saying the exact same thing. Me and Bits were picking up on that on the watch along that like he goes down and just dead bug. I mean, like Santos is just like, okay, I guess we're going to go to the ground now. If you're not going to get up, Santos was completely fine on his feet. You know, he was happy. Like Santos does have a good chin. I will definitely say that about him. He's kind of like an old school brawly kind of guy. Like
Yeah.
he trusts his chin. So like, come in here and give me your best shot, and he'll give his best shot. And so when Barlow was on the ground, he's like, oh, I guess you're going to stay down there, huh? And then he just followed him down. So like that was really a bad like look optically.
Yeah, Jordan Santos, when I say specifically, Latino strikers, you could get your Mexican boxers. We had the Peruvian guy who was a very eccentric kind of striker. Jordan Santos kind of fits into that. He's just a hard nose, get in your face and just punch you and get punched back kind of. It seems like he's one of those guys that thrives from getting punched back. So I kind of
Right.
dig it because he is somebody that I can tell you is going to end up getting probably flatlined by a good performer. Um, and that'll be a fun performance because it's somebody that I know is like not easy to put down. Like this is a guy who's wanting to, fight the best of the best. He wants the killers. Danny Barlow is supposedly that killer. That's he's moving up. Like now he's packing more of a punch. No, he literally still just gasses out and does nothing after a round. So whatever.
Yeah, yeah, never been too high on Danny Barlow. This certainly does not raise his stock in any way. And I mean, except I did think that, like you said, he was getting pressed in this fight, so like he did have to be a little bit more active than he normally would have been, which I did appreciate because it was like, okay, like if his back is against the wall, he is going to punch his way out. So I appreciated that. I give him a little bit of credit for rising to the occasion, so to speak, but as you said, I mean, Santos getting the unanimous decision on this one, A, is warranted, and B, does not do any favors for Barlow. And really, honestly, I mean, not like you said, not really too many favors for him either, based on what we saw there. I mean, go out and finish that fight if you have that much of a confidence in your
Yeah,
hands and your chin.
true, hundred
So.
percent.
Yeah, all right. That's that, I suppose. Let's move on to the next one here. Oh man, well, this was one, both of us saying that Hyun Sung Park was going to be better. I guess this turns out to be a bad call. It's Hyun Sung Park versus Bruno Silva.
Yeah, once again, it never fails. You could have a Brazilian guy who's knocked out every one of his opponents and has never once seen the decision or tried to get a choke. But because back in primary school, it was one of the tests at the end of the year, you had to go ahead and do a rear naked choke. This is what you get. You just always have the ability to see a Brazilian pull out Brazilian jiu jitsu. It doesn't. It actually doesn't surprise me. I mean, I should be because it's Bruno Silva, and I think he only has 2 or 3 subs on his record, and I don't think any of them were in the UFC. But I could be mistaken. Hyung Sung Park is somebody who is a grappler. He is a striker, I mean, as well, but like he's one of these all around guys that we know has decent grappling, and or well, we thought, and to get submitted by a striker who's also aging out of existence in this division, like it's just unfortunate to see. I will give Hyun Sun Park a little leeway. Bruno Silva does have the most, are tied for third most knockdowns in the, I don't know what the fuck it is. He has a lot of knockdowns for flyweight. Young Sung Park did get knocked down in this fight, and I think he broke his jaw. And I I'm not saying that I'm right about this. At the end of the second round, going into the third, the doctor is like looking in his mouth, like he's got the flashlight too. DC's like, "Oh, come on, it's a cut. Come on, let's go." And I'm thinking, mate, his jaw is probably fucking separated. Like, cause you don't see him close his mouth after it either. Like, I, I don't know. I think he was kind of fucked up. Cause like when I think of what I've seen, what like a jaw dislocation kind of thing is like, that kind of looked like what it was to me. And getting punched in the face, knocked down. I mean, that seems like it would probably do it. I mean, that's probably what does it. So
Yeah, I like the line of thinking because that is a note that I have. Is like this was one of the earlier moments of referee fuckery when the ref calls the doctor in to check Park out for what seemed like no reason, but I mean, you are making a decent case there.
Dude, I'm telling you, because after that, like he just one the way that he was looking in his mouth, like it wasn't at his lip. It didn't look like he was looking at his facial structure, and then
Sure.
and then Hyung Sung is like feeling his face, and then he goes back in there and he doesn't close his mouth ever again. In theory, not putting pressure like down on his mouth to bite the gum shield, and then gets put in an RNC and not necessarily something that I would say was like the easiest, of course, but at a certain point, if your jaw is already broke, I'm sure you're going to tap probably a little quicker to this than you would have if it wasn't. And I think potentially, I mean, this choke specifically, no, he was ripping his fucking head off, but like, I think there might have been more of a chance if Hyung Sung was. I don't know. I would like to believe I think his jaw was broke. That's just my opinion. I don't know what could have happened if it wasn't, but in my opinion, I think after the knockdown, Bruno Silva is a hard hitter for flyweight. I think did you see this dude's back?
Oh, I was going to talk
Okay.
about that. Yeah, I got to
Okay.
put a couple of things. So
Go
before we
ahead.
get to that, but I did want to at least kind of go push back a little bit on the early assessment that you had, because saying that this is chalking it up to just Brazilians doing Brazilian things. I mean, this was the best that we've seen Bruno Silva in like forever, I would say. I mean, like he looked really good in this fight, and I think that overall it was just that he was outworking Park. I mean, like from the start of this thing, like before it even went to the ground. I mean, like there were a couple of really nice strikes. Aside from the one that dropped him as well. I mean, like he
Mhm.
was rocking those uppercuts pretty consistently at times. Like there was a couple of really good lands that he had. Also, there was that tomahawk elbow that opened Park up a little bit as well. Like didn't end up actually seeing how bad that cut was, but he was bleeding. So I mean, it was effective. So Silva was mixing up the shots in addition to the power that seemed to be there. The wrestling was there for Park a couple of times, but Bruno was able to hang in. He negated the offense. I thought this was a solid performance for Silva all over. This was a very well-rounded early performance. And of course, then Park ended up getting dropped as well. Bruno gets that really nice double leg thereafter. I mean, like this is just like point by point of like kind of masterful performance, I want to say. Now, I mean, I had more faith in Park, so it was like I was a little bit perplexed. I'm like, where are you, Park? Like Bruno Silva's working you over right now, but it just kept going. So I got to give him credit for it.
I asked you just moments before about if you had saw Bruno Silva's
That I
back,
was
and
leading to
now
that.
you want to tell me that this is the greatest that he has ever looked. I mean,
This is yes, I was certainly leading to it. I did want to highlight, crazy how no more USADA and he gets back knee and
eh,
hand power suddenly.
oh,
Shout out to
okay.
Hydra.
The hand power part, come on, let's be real. He
Right.
does knock people down, but the back knee part, I mean, listen, Bruno Silva, I mean, he looked the strongest that we've seen him look in a while, the fastest. I mean, yeah, the power was there, but it's always been there. Yeah, but like he also, I, I, I don't know. I mean, this was a little fishy. This was a little fishy,
The
man.
back acne certainly was, and also shout out to
He,
CTE saying that he might have been going to the same nutritionist as Leal.
yeah, dude, he fucking. I mean, if it comes out that he was take like obviously we'll have to wait until apparently we have to wait until with Alex Siva, I think they knew if she popped before the fucking fight, and then they still let her fight,
Yeah,
and
and
then
just
told her,
sat on it. Yeah,
yeah. So
wild
Bruno
story.
Silva, we probably know he fucking popped or whatever, dude. I mean, he breaks Bro's jaw in theory. That's what I'm thinking. He's got the best cardio ever. He's got the strongest fucking. He's able to lift Bro out of his shoe, and he able to do a fucking backflip off the fucking cage. He must have been living in this fucking shit, like Scrooge McDuck into the fucking like.
Well, yeah, nearly crashed out pretty bad on that backflip. By the way, that
He
was
would have been fine. He would have been. It wouldn't have broke. His
true.
leg would have been titanium right there. You know how many fucking look, dude. His back, like, crazy. It's just
Yeah, it,
crazy.
it looked like a constellation on his back
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, he would have regen just like Deadpool. Absolutely. Yeah, no,
his
I
skin. His skin looked like Deadpool's skin on his back.
um, yeah, so I mean, take it for what you want to take it, right? Obviously, the guy, in theory at least, passed all of his pre-fights, so I got to believe that he was clean, but certainly a clean performance at the very least. And really, I mean, what I wanted to also kind of posit, and I don't want it to be true, but I do want to say it. Park went up a very, very high jump in his previous fight. Fighting Tatsuro Taira is at the stage in his career that he is at
On short notice.
on short notice as well, and getting manhandled by Tyra. I mean, I mean, not necessarily like literally manhandled, but just got taken care of like easy work. I don't know if it changed him or if maybe he was just never that great to begin with.
Hear me out. And
I will.
obviously, he did not have the up that I'm going to compare him to, but the down. I mean, he's certainly looking like the Korean Steve Urseg.
I mean, time will tell if that ends up being a continual trend, but I can see the parallels there. Close enough, right? Tyra not a champion, of course, but close enough to one, and a fight that was definitely could have been a life-changing one. Now, I mean, different, I guess, in the sense that he did not do well enough against a high-level guy for his stock to raise off of it, but I think everybody was giving him the leeway because it was such a big jump. It was on short notice. It's like, okay, we even said it ourselves on this very show. We were like, oh, put that last performance out of your mind. That was a unique circumstance. This is going to be more indicative of what he actually is. Now you see what that is. That gives me a little concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Sadly.
yeah. So, I mean, I think that that's really the big takeaway here is I don't know if you necessarily put too much higher stock on Silva. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe keep your eye on the pop watch for for Silva off of what we've been talking about. But really
He'll
for Park,
keep an eye on him being in the fucking lawsuit too, man. Him and Mo Usman in my civil action fucking lawsuit.
there you go. Yes, yes. We're gonna be getting the legal boys on the case here at some point, and Chase is leading the charge. I think you have a definite case on your hands with that. But yeah, no, I mean, as far as Park goes, this was sad to see because I do think that like he had shown flecks of being better than this in previous times, and he just got handled, bro. I mean, this was just an outright outclassing, sadly.
So, what does it mean? I mean, obviously, this is all speculation, but we're not the only ones bringing this up. This is a thing on obviously going around, and the community sees all. What if Bruno Silva does pop? What does that mean for Young Sung Park? Like, now this dude's got a broken jaw, broken spirit, and he's fucking broke. Like,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
he might be able to get the fight overturned, possibly. I mean, that it's very rare that that would be the case, but at least he has a case for it if that happens. And then thereafter, I mean, I think that that goes back to what was it, Charles Johnson, who was saying something along those
Hmm.
lines, where it's like, look, I don't get any recourse when the guy ends up popping after the fact, and sadly, that's the case here too. I mean, what he gets is the actual hardcores who are paying attention to the sport, knowing that and actually putting the backing on him, so maybe his line moves.
We'll see.
That's really and exactly that is it's just a we'll see because you're right, there is no recourse, and that's a sad thing in this sport, and maybe that's something that should be addressed, but hard to make an actual case for it.
Because also, hear me out. It's like Vegas has Young Sung Park as a minus 220. And then the only thing that they can't account for is the illegality of steroids. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess until we actually know that for sure. I mean, we're putting a lot of wild speculation on this, by the way. I mean, we don't have any proof of that. So until we actually know for sure that that is the case, chalk it up to Bruno Silva just having a really good night. I guess I
No,
could say.
100%. Yeah, I know. I feel bad that that's like something that I have to think about, but like genuinely, dude, you might need some get some something on that back, man. If it ain't roids, dude, dermatology. Like go
Yeah,
figure it out.
him and Carlos Leal.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is that. I've been kind of dreading moving on
Oh.
to this one, but we got to do it. So let's do it. This is Ariki Long versus Cody Gibson, my good friend. What do you say? I say that, oh, the egg on my face, considering that I was not only so confident in what happened in this fight not happening, I put this out as a clip on the channel. This was a rare time because this was a fight that, was a middle of the card kind of fight. Now, granted, Cody's a friend. So, maybe you could say that that's part of the reason. And that would be an acceptable reason for that. But no, I really put this out more so because I was so confident that Ariki Long was not going to be able to knock Cody out. I went through Ariki Long's record. I went through and picked it out. I'm like, when was the last time this guy got like a legitimate knockout against a dude like Cody who has not been knocked out, like, or not, not somebody with a strong enough chin that would lead you to believe that he was not going to be knocked out. And went in there in two shots, it just cracked him and made me look like the biggest fool. So I feel very, very stupid.
I don't think you should ever I don't think you should ever feel bad when you bet on somebody who's I mean, obviously we like Cody Gibson around here. We're the Cody Gibson fan club
Sure.
where we respect what he's been able to accomplish in the organization. What I will say is again, somebody who's not been knocked out cleanly, finished on his feet, whatever you want to say, you could never go wrong betting on that person not to get finished. I mean,
Right.
statistically, I mean, 9 out of 10 times Cody will probably just never get finished again or whatever and finish his career and just not being knocked out again. But it's just unfortunately, this is something that just can't happen, bro. I
Yeah.
mean, like you went for the low kick. Just shot right through it with a straight, chinned you, and it's not that you got knocked down. When you go back, when you look at people, look at Rahiki, the first time he had ever been knocked down, what was his instinct to do? Fight back. Cody, I've probably been knocked down before, but
Oh, I mean,
knocked down.
Cody's been. I would think that Cody has been knocked out at some point in the past. I'm not trying to say he's
Well,
never been knocked out. I'm saying recent memory
no,
at the
no, no,
very
no,
least. Yeah.
no, no. I'm pretty sure it's never like in the UFC. This was like his. Oh, hold on, let me double check. Yeah, this is his only time ever being
Oh wow.
finished in pro
Okay.
career,
How
but I'm
about
sure
that?
he's been knocked down before.
Uh-huh.
But unfortunately, in this case, when he got knocked down, it looked as if he had no clue where he was at, what planet he's on, and like rightfully so. You obviously got fucking chinned. But the fact that Ariki Long pounced on you and is throwing punches, and like you're not even registering that he's still hitting you. Like Cody was like locked up, like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it was a knockout. Obviously, flash knockout took him down, but Cody wasn't like out. He was just like in just like I don't know, just stun locked, man. It was just unfortunately the reality of what we saw. It was one of the quickest performances I've seen out of this dude. Like I said, this dude's never been finished. Unfortunately, I don't know why the UFC they said tough 32. We're gonna feed our the people who literally got the finale recognition on the pay-per-view that it was on or whatever. Like that was one of the greatest tough finale fights that you've ever seen between Cody Gibson and Brad Katona. And then as of this year, they go ahead and feed them to people who just chin them in the first 13
But
seconds of their fight.
that's part of why this is so surprising is because Ariki Long is not that guy almost ever except here. And that's what's very concerning. And I mean, going back to your point about that cannot happen. I mean, look, man, this is now what 3 losses in a row for Cody, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's coming off of this and the Mon Blackshear fight before it, and I believe one before that. This cannot happen is an understatement at this point. This is his second stint in the organization. I fear for Cody's contract at this point,
No,
and
he came off 2 wins before this: Chad Ellenhanger and Brad Kelly.
oh yeah, okay, that
Keller.
was okay. I thought that there was a third one in there. All right, fair enough. Then look, then I take that
Three
back.
and two in his last five. So
So we Mackenzie Dern is 3-2, getting her title shot. You know what I'm saying in her last 5, and so people have had worse. So okay, that reframes it just a little bit. But either way, I mean, you're treading on thin ice as a guy who is in your second stint in the organization, I guess is what I'm saying. And after a knockout like that, and getting finished by Blackshear as well, I believe that's 2 finishes in a row at the very least. So right, he got finished in
yeah,
Blackshear. Yeah. So I mean, this is yeah, I mean, the course correction is absolutely necessary to keep the job over here. And I liked this note from CTE saying that, like, he was using too much brain power. They were talking about him coming in and like this like spreadsheet that he has. He's very analytical about his approach to fighting. Cody is a student of the game. You know what I mean? Like, oops, sorry about that. He's a student of the game. Like, this is a guy who really takes his fight game very seriously, but that has to equal up to the performances as well. And for this to be the way that you go down in a fight like this against a guy who is not known as a finisher, not like that anyway. I mean, not known to come in and one punch knockout people at the very least. It's not a good look.
yeah. To be fair, if I had to look on the bright side of things, to get finished by a guy nicknamed the Mongolian Murderer, I mean, it is his nickname. Yeah.
It's a nickname that goes hard, by the way. Yes,
It
indeed.
also does go hard. What is also funny to note, I mean, this is after the fact. There's not much. This is unfortunately a couple. There's 2 fights on this card that are like this, where the actual walkouts are longer than the fight itself, and that's
Yep.
normally how it goes. But you don't really think about it like that, and when the fight's actually going. When you think about a fight like this, you think about, I just watched them walk out for so fucking long, and then nothing ended up happening. And then the funny part, I didn't catch this one live. This is obviously after the fact with the post fight speech. This is classic UFC moment because we don't know what we're doing. We literally don't know what we're doing. Ariki Long is up there doing his little speech and he's speaking, I believe it's Mandarin. And they clearly said, you, that Asian guy over there, he's gonna be the translator. And they pulled him out the crowd, they gave him a suit, they did the Bass Rutten switch, and they said, all right, translate for him. And he's like, all right, I'm Korean, but I'm gonna do my best. And everybody's just like, Go for it. You
It
got
was
it. You're
this
close
was
enough. Like, how does he not know? He obviously knows Mandarin.
this was one of the most pure comedy moments that you will see in UFC. This is one of the things that I love about the sport so much, that at this level of the sport, this is a $7.7 billion company, and something like this can still happen is hilarious. Yes, the Korean translator coming in to translate for a Chinese fighter is absolute comedy. But to be fair, it was one of his coaches. So I guess that they could think that they're, maybe that he was communicating with him a little bit more effectively. But bro was legitimately, and I mean quite legitimately, freestyling the shit that he was saying, because you could hear him say, he was like, yeah, so I mean, we talked a little bit about, his game plan before, and then he just went into the general things that you say. Oh, it was a good fight, a shout out to my opponent, like all of the normal stuff.
I always love when they're in there, you get the fighter and they say maybe 3 seconds of dialogue, and then the translator speaks for 5 minutes about what they supposedly said. And it's like, maybe this dude, maybe we don't really know what this guy is talking about, you know?
Oh,
So
the thing that gave it away the most was he goes, I understood that last part. He said, Shay Shay, that means thank you.
all right.
He has grade school level knowledge of the language that he's supposed to be translating. DC laughing about it too was very funny. Yeah, this was just a very funny instance, of course. So yeah, really pretty hilarious.
What also is key, and what makes it obviously more of a spectacle that you're watching this clown show go on, is that you have a Ricky Long in his little hat, and he's just sitting there next to him. He's just smiling, and they, train wreck is happening right next to him. You have the Korean coach apparently who just doesn't know how to speak to his own fighter, like crazy, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and also I gotta wonder if he even knew what the questions he were being asked was. Like, was he just kind of freestyling too? Like DC would say something in English and he would just like kind of say whatever.
He's like, yeah, yeah, they was wondering, what'd you have for dinner last night, man? And he'd be like, oh, orange chicken. It was good.
It would be great if you actually did get somebody to translate what he said and it was some shit like that.
Is it better that we get just the wrong nationality to translate for somebody, or do you like the try translation where we get the English to the Mandarin to the Korean back to the Mandarin? Like, do you want a
Oh
big?
yeah, like the double. Yeah, yeah. At least there's some semblance of like possibly what they're saying in there. But for comedy, I liked this the most.
Yeah, true. This one was pretty funny.
Yeah, this certainly made me laugh. That was really hilarious and a nice bit of levity after watching my buddy get knocked out. Sadly,
True, true.
so. Yeah, shout out to Cody though, man. Still always going to be a fan, and I hope for better. I hope that this is not the end of the road for you. He, back on Instagram saying that he's, going to get right back to it. He's one of those hardworking guys when it comes to this game. He's a dude who's never going to give up on himself, and he's never going to give up on trying to keep making it happen. So get back in there, and hopefully next fight will be better.
Chat makes a good point. You have so many Chinese fighters on the roster as well. That's genuinely embarrassing. Also, there's a PI in Shanghai, right? Uh, you can't tell me there's not one. I mean, because you would have to think like you're going to do business, like you're talking to the PI and you're checking up on them. Don't you have just somebody who speaks most of
No,
the
I think that
languages?
this was genuinely an unintentional racist moment where they
Nice.
saw that he had Asians on his team. So surely one of those Asians is going to speak his language.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, though, who would have thought the one Chinese guy getting trained by Koreans? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
I get, it's an understandably unintentional racist moment. I'd
yeah,
say, you know what I mean? Like, I can't really fault them too much for this because it's just an odd set of circumstances that all culminated in a very funny moment.
100%. I mean, we actually did have a moment that was kind of similar on the Contender series last week where the translator just forgot how to speak English,
That
or
was funny. Yes, my cute translator girl. I'm a big fan of translator Russian lady. But yeah, she just completely froze up at one point. Just could not do her job real quick. That was kind of funny.
yeah. And Laura was like, no, it's cool. So,
That
nothing
was
else,
That's the professionalism of Laura Sanko. All of these haters on Laura Sanko need to recognize game. Laura Sanko is a pro.
Yeah, true. Yeah, she wouldn't have got caught up right there, DC, but whatever.
Yeah, no, DC was rolling with it. That's why DC is great for that moment because it's goofball action with a goofball guy. I thought it was perfect.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's move on here when we're dwelling on the funniness. This is one that had its own set of moments. This is Drew Dober versus Kyle Prepelic. I want to give Prepelic some credit here. He certainly did a lot better in this fight than I was expecting, and who knows what the outcome could have been had it not been for the events of the fight. So, what was your assessment of this whole situation?
What I will say is this was Kyle Prepelic is an interesting fighter because he's very good. He is very good, and I actually am a decent fan. And I do believe he got fucked over right here. This is pretty bad. But what I will say is in this situation, I mean, did you expect less or more, or would you have wanted less or more from Drew Dober? Like, okay, you get a point taken from a low blow, which in this case, since we're just going to talk about it right away, because not much happens in the fight necessarily up until like the ending sequence. Like it was very just back and forth a little bit. Drew Dober was getting his ass whooped, pretty much. Third round, we get a low blow from Drew Dober. It kicks him right in the fucking dick, like right in the dick. Prepelic instantly to the mat. The referee, I don't know what the dialogue is between him and the booth. They said it wasn't intentional, but it was hard enough that we got to do something about it, which they just decided to just freehand the fucking rule book there right there
They
apparently.
always do with that, though. It reminds me a lot of one of Moreno and Pantoja's fights. I believe it was Moreno. It might have been Moreno and Figueiredo, actually, come to think of it. But it was one of those where I believe it was Figueiredo who kicked Moreno, and it was just one of those ones that was unintentional, but it was so bad that they decided it was point worthy. Yeah, they're always free balling it. They're always free handing it.
Yeah, so Drew Dober gets a point taken right on the spot. Prepelic is clearly still not having a good time with his testicles. The fight gets started back up. Drew Dober just decides to just fuck it. I'm just going to go beat the living hell out of this dude whose nuts hurt right in front of me. That's at least something that we can't say another fighter on this card was able to do. But as of right here, Drew Dober got his point taken and he realized that it was make or break, and that's what he did. He went in and broke Kyle Prepelic after he destroyed this dude's chances to have a child. It's crazy. I mean, it's unfortunate because, like I said, Prepelic was low key whooping Drew Dober's ass. Like, I mean, Drew Dober was bloodied and busted up until this third round sequence.
I think you're going a little hard on Dober. I thought it was 1-1 going into the third. I mean, I thought that Dober had a good start to the fight. I mean, the difference I think for Dober in the first round was the movement because he moves a lot better than Prepelic. One thing about Prepelic, I do think that he's a good fighter, but he is very flat. He's got very
Hmm.
little bounce in his step, so it makes for a good sturdy base. Like if he's throwing heavy shots, like he can definitely get those off, but he gets punished in the position a lot. So I think that Dober was doing a good job of navigating that aspect early. Then there was that shin to shin that opened Dober's shin up a little bit there, and he was bleeding pretty bad off of that. So that was something to note as well. So Dober's leaking all over the place, trailing blood everywhere that he stepped. Prepelic put the striking together better in the second round. So I think that it was 1-1 going into the third. And then, of course, all the events that you were talking about happened. I thought what I said on the watch along, and I think that it kind of is unfortunately like the correct sequence of events based on what we saw is that like you can't really say anything overly bad about how it all went down because it kind of went down how you would expect like that really if you're going to say like that was that bad of a foul, which it certainly seemed like it was, then what can you do about it in this sport? You can take the point. He got the point taken. Prepelic took the time. Dober was sitting there regenning. I said he looked like Mega Man on the platform, like when Mega Man is re upping the power bar. Dober is just like, okay, I'm going to get right back to it, and he did that. So it's like there was no real better way for this to go. So it might be a little bit sad that that's how it all went down, and it's always going to be a what if as to what could have been if it didn't happen. But for the sequence of events that we got, I think unfortunately it was the best outcome it could have been.
Isn't it crazy to think that if you deeply think about what taking a point means, if you take a point, that should mean at minimum you've left the opponent compromised from an illegal move. Now you have a point taken. Now you have the remainder of the fight. after you just get a 5 minute break because you just destroyed your man's testicles. Um, Now you have the rest of the remaining of the fight to go free reign on a compromised opponent. And even if and that's if the point is even taken. You know, I think that is the point we need to hammer home. It's not just they're getting away with something and boo-hoo, move on. Obviously fight has to continue. It's like they're compromising their opponent and it's changing the trajectory of the fight. Like it literally, one eye poke literally will take off a dude's jab and that he's been popping the guy with the entirety of the fight. So I don't know.
But then what's the alternative? You know what I mean? The only real alternative would be for that fighter to say, I can't continue. And then what that does to the perception. So, you really don't, there are no good options because that's literally the only thing you can do. You can take 2 points. But what else can you do? I mean, what you're going to somebody had said in the watch along that they thought that they should be making the opponent who committed the foul do like standing jumping jacks or something like
Look,
that.
here goes Hydra doing the burpees the whole break.
Yeah, right. There you go. Exactly. So I mean, like, like there are only so many options that you have within the structure of how this sport is laid out. So it's like, again, I think it was it's always going to be not satisfying, as CT kind of alluded to there, but like at the same time, this is the structure, and for lack of a better one, this is what you get.
Hmm. Yeah, no, this one unfortunately was not my favorite, but it wasn't the worst of the night. I'll tell you that. So how this one ended, that's exactly what you would want from a person who just lost a point. It's like, well, now you have to go get a finish. But unfortunately, the reality is, well, now he has to go finish his compromised opponent that we know doesn't deserve to be finished because they were fighting a clean fight up until what just happened. And it wasn't necessarily a dirty move, it was accidental, but it still caused the ending sequence to be it just made the ending sequence more enhanced. I guess it enhanced the ending sequence.
Yeah, yeah, of course. He's like I said, he's over there getting all of his energy back, waiting for his opponent to come back. And I think one of the unfortunate things about this is now Drew Dober is going to fight on. I was
Yeah.
really hoping at some point that Drew Dober would be thinking about hanging up those gloves. I mean, the dude he's done enough in this sport, and he has been brutally knocked out. Not too long ago, he was coming off of a bad knockout in his last fight. So it's like, now Dober ends up with an opponent that, I mean, like was bringing the fight to him and is not necessarily like the highest of high level guys to begin with, ends up getting the win in a weird way. And then says, I'm getting older, wiser, and better. And I'm like, Drew, you're not, brother. Like, please think about maybe slowing down at some point, because Drew Dober is one of those guys that just does not know when the right time to end it is. And I worry for him. I am a fan. You know what I mean?
What I will say about Drew Dober, it's the last thing that I want to know. Actually, Kyle Prepelik has this as well. And Prepelik, I actually don't feel it's the same scenario. But Drew Dober, you can tell this is a man who used to be overweight. And I'll tell you why. If you look at this guy's calves, he's got, listen, bigger people have really insanely large calves. And when they slim down, they keep the calves. Look at Drew Dober and look at this dude's calves. Like you can see him in the picture right there. This dude's John. Anyway, Kyle Prepelik, for some reason, also is just super jacked in the calf department. I don't know if he was also fat at one time, but listen, the calf department in this matchup, I mean, they could have went toe to toe or, heel for heel, whatever you guys want to say. But the calves were killing in this fight. I don't know if anybody else noticed it.
Yeah, I mean, did not specifically pick up on that. Also, did not specifically pick up on what Andy is throwing in here. Is this true? Did Drew Dober have a child that passed away? That does not
Uh,
sound specifically for I mean, he did say in his post fight that that they were going through a lot. Oh, excuse me here. I don't know. But they did say in the post fight that Dober was going through a lot, and I kind of caught bits and pieces of that. So I don't know if he specifically had said that, and if that's the case, then obviously that's a pretty bad deal there. But I'll have to go back and do some research on that if that is indeed the truth.
hey,
If so, then shout out RIP to his family.
yeah, I did not catch that one.
All right. Well, either way, Drew Dober lives to fight another day over here. Kyle Prepelik. I wanted to say, man, Kyle Prepelik has had such a bad go of it recently. Like they throw him into that fight with BSD that he was clearly not of the caliber for, and then end up going up against Drew Dober and this happens, like I really hope that they throw Kyle Prepelic a softball in his next fight. Give this guy a win.
True.
He deserves it, man. Like he's definitely better than what we've been getting out of him recently.
100%. Yeah, I like Prepelic.
Yeah, I
Never
do
been,
too.
well, up until this, never been knocked out, by the way.
All right, well, then there you go. So give this guy something he can sink his teeth into.
Hmm.
All right, next up was well, let's talk about it. It's Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frivola. Of course, this fight is really more so all about Big Dan Murgliata, who is a reoccurring character on this show. If you recall, we've had a lot of things to say about Big Dan, and this is another in a series now of instances that lend credence to my assertion that Big Dan Murgliata has a hearing problem. We can go through the fight, but really it's all about what ended up happening at the end of the first round. So take it
Yeah,
away.
yeah, I was gonna say there's not necessarily too much to touch on the fight, other than the end of the first round. Matt Frivola gets dropped by Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson is beating the hell out of him. The clapper goes off, and presumably what is happening is Dan Murgliata knows that he does not hear the bell very well, so he hears the clapper. If he's able to hear the clapper, it's two different sounds. It's potential that he hears some sort of vibration from the clap. I don't know, because then he starts to mentally count down. That's why he was early, and that is why he also did not seem to have an issue with what he was doing. It's not like he stepped in and he was ending the fight. Like people were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! The fight's over! Fight's over!" He stepped in. He stepped in early. It's like, no, he didn't step in to end the fight. He stepped in and he's like, "All right, go to your corner. Go to your corner." It's like he genuinely thought the round was over. He had no clue that the bell did not sound yet, and even when the bell sounded, it never registered to him that he messed up, that he was early. It genuinely felt like Dan needed to be gone.
Right, and you're absolutely correct about that, and I do agree that that is what was going on in his mind. The problem was that there were 3 seconds left on that clock, and Nelson had Frivola dead to rights on the ground, pummeling him. So you stop the round early, take 3 seconds away from Kyle Prepelic with emotion that makes him believe that the fight had been ended. He's adrenaline dumping at that point, trying to get this fight finished in the first round. It would have been a perfect stoppage had that been what he was doing, except it was not for Dan because he was actually stopping the round, not concluding the fight, except there were those 3 seconds. He robbed Kyle Nelson of this TKO here. And now Kyle Nelson has to come back into another 2 rounds of fighting after adrenaline dumping, and also gives Matt Frivola all that time in the confusion to get himself back right.
Mhm.
Plus three extra seconds.
Yeah, no, this one was very, very bad. Kyle Nelson, honestly, no excuse that he didn't get a second finish, in my opinion, because he hurt Matt Frivola early in the third round to the body and then just decided not to punch him anymore. I don't know why Kyle Nelson is. This was a. Maybe he just felt bad. Like I don't know.
Oh,
Like
it
some.
was an adrenaline dump. He was going so hard on it, and then also thinking that the fight was over. It's a physiological thing.
I get that portion of it, but I don't think that doesn't give an excuse to how bad he was fighting after. It's not the skill itself, it was the decision making. It just did not lend me to somebody who could finish a fight when they've literally finished the person in that fight already and they've hurt them again. Uh, even if you've adrenaline dumped at the end of the first round, you fought a second round. It's okay. I'm fucked. I'm compromised. I already thought I won. Whatever. It's like I don't know, bro. I this was a good performance with the first round. Dan Murgliata obviously fucked up. The third round, second round was pretty boring. Third round even not greater, but this just did not show me that Kyle Nelson, when he's back against the wall is not what to say because he was obviously leading the charge, but in a sense, if he was at his wits end when it comes to his gas tank and adrenaline, He did not seem like the type of dude I want to put money on if this is him fighting for his fucking life. I don't know. That's just me.
No. See, I think Kyle Nelson is actually one of the better Canadian fighters that we have on the roster currently. I said that going into this fight. I think this fight kind of backs it up, and kind of am agreeing with Hydra here. He says that keeping it competitive and coming back at the end of the second is incredibly impressive. I thought that in that second round, Nelson was really just regaining the momentum that he lost from the adrenaline dump. So look, I get your point. It's like, yeah, you got to like switch your brain right back in there and get back to work. I get that it is human error. This is a very human error prone sport. You've got three people that control the action in a fight, two fighters and the referee. So it's like any one of those components can have a different impact on how things go. This is Dan Mergliotta's fuck up. I get all of the elements of it, and I understand where your thought process is there. I give more leeway to Nelson because I do think that like him going for the finish as much as he was, and also you got to remember too, like the finishing sequence, or what ended up not being the finishing sequence, he was landing like shots pretty consistently throughout that. Like it was like a good 5, 6, 7, 8 shots before like it finally got stopped, which ended up being the end of the round. So it's like, there was a lot of effort put into all of that. And then the drop after it, thinking that it was over. I understand all of these elements, so I can see it from both sides. I think you give Kyle Nelson a fight where this does not happen, and you see exactly what he's made of without that.
Yeah, he probably loses. I know, because Matt Frevola is not somebody. I mean, this is not the greatest fighter in the world, and this was. It wasn't
He was about
obvious.
to finish him.
He was about to finish in the first, yeah, and then after an adrenaline dump, it was competitive and close, and then the third round, it wasn't the most, you
I think
know.
you're being unfair right now.
I'm okay with that portion of it, but genuinely, I watched Kyle Nelson for the third round and I was confused on all of the moves that he was doing. Like he could have, again, it's not that he just, you guys, if the adrenaline dump made his IQ go from 152 in the cage to 90 -2, I don't know. But it was genuinely hard to watch a guy who had his opponent on the ropes again, and then I'm supposed to believe that, like, well, no, he was still just adrenaline dump. It's like he got him to the point again. He
He
got him
ended up
there
winning the
again.
third round. He had some really nice kicks in the third round.
Yeah, he literally kicked him in the stomach and had him almost folded over in the first exchange, and then never decided to kick him in the stomach again. Got him in the clinch and didn't decide to knee him in the stomach again. I don't know if he started to feel bad for Matt Frevola because this is an American hero right here. Like that's I don't know, man. This one, Kyle Nelson. You should have had the first round finish, but considering you didn't, and what the actuality of it is right now, that third round, man, I don't know if I trust that. That's crazy.
Well, I don't know. I thought that it was a pretty fun fight aside from the weirdness. I thought the first round was actually very entertaining. I thought Frevola was actually doing really well in that first round up until he ended up getting hurt. I mean, Frevola was putting that work in. It's Frevola is just kind of a wild, sort of sloppy dude at a lot of times. So at least in the way he was, yeah, I think that Nelson was moving better and it kind of made him look a little sloppier than he was. But yeah, no, I liked this fight up until the weirdness, and then thereafter, I thought it was just like it's going to be marred one way or another, so it's hard to know what it would have been. You're saying that there was an IQ issue with Nelson. Fine if you want to. I thought it was a good recovery after something that was outside of his control. He ends up getting the win by decision instead of by finish, which sucks, but still a win nonetheless. So shout out to Kyle Nelson.
Hell yeah.
Also, did want to say that Kyle Nelson's nickname is the Monster, but it should probably be Kids Need Their Fathers and 50-50 custody should be the standard. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've heard him say that every single time that he fights, but he does.
I noticed it this time because the way he did it was pretty funny. So he gets on the mic and he says it real quick, and then he's like, "So yeah," and then I just want to like he just cut his promo, and he knew like I just got to get the words out. I don't actually have to like go into a big spiel about the message anymore. They get it. They know it. It's my thing. So
I mean, he's an advocate for sure. So shout out to him. I hope that he has 50-50 custody of those kids at this point.
well, I hope it's the standard after what he's been,
Right. Yes,
you know.
exactly. It needs to be standardized. Take it to the Canadian Parliament. But
Yeah, yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, in Canada, it's not. I mean, in America, I know we have horrible,
yeah,
shit when it comes to that. So okay,
I guess
Canada is
again,
not having it great either.
yeah, it must be somewhat similar. It would sound like anyway.
Hmm.
But anyway, so yeah, that is the weird and wackiness of that fight. We've got another one coming up with some weird and wackiness as well. I did want to say,
Yes,
uh,
chat. That is his catchphrase. Say it one
yes,
more time. Actually, go ahead.
the catchphrase is "Kids need their fathers, and 50-50 custody should be the standard."
Yeah. Don't talk about the mothers though. Just only they need their
Well,
fathers.
I think what he's doing is exactly talking about the mothers by saying what he's saying.
True. Fair.
So anyway, all right. Well,
That's hilarious, Hydra. Yeah, it's the NPC that's stuck on his line, and he just says it over and over again.
I'm sure he has good reason to. He's got a lot of kids. I don't know if he's got. I think he said he had 3, and then he's got one on the way with the new girl. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. Kyle Nelson be spreading the wild oats.
Yeah.
Um, on a more serious note here, I mean, that is a serious subject as well, but did want to say before we get into the next fight that the broadcast took a few moments to honor the passing of Duke Rufus, and that is a tremendous loss for the MMA world. Coach to many and father figure to many of the fighters that he coached. So they did a little a segment there, and Paul Felder, being one of his students and someone that he mentored, was getting pretty emotional on the broadcast. So did want to also acknowledge and honor the passing of Duke Rufus, who was a very highly regarded coach in this sport. It is a tremendous loss.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't familiar, but you can always tell if somebody is important around the UFC community itself because they get a video package. Like, I mean, plenty of people pass in this world, but not everybody that has worked around the UFC or been involved with the UFC fighters is getting a package for, for a UFC event or whatever, or at least getting acknowledged in some capacity. So he must have been pretty important, and a lot of people must have looked up to him or, been supportive of him in some way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Rufus Sport has put out a great deal of good fighters, and he was very highly regarded by all of those fighters. Yeah. I had seen Anthony Pettis's, his statement afterwards, and it was very touching. And you can tell that how when people, the way that they talk about a person really represents the true feelings, especially after they pass, and you can tell between Pettis and Felder and a couple other people that were making their tributes known that this was a person who was, very highly regarded and very important to modern MMA. So R.I.P. to Duke Rufus.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, that said, Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. This was one that you were absolutely correct about, but Air Jourdain living up to his nickname. We were talking on the Contender series about people being able to replicate these flashier moves and somewhat unconventional moves that they're able to pull off once. Can they replicate it? Can they do it multiple times? Air Jourdain gets his nickname from his ability to pull off those flying knees, and this fight was no different. What an amazing performance that was.
I mean, I said this. And listen, you go back a couple weeks in the Contender series and you look at this guy named Louis Jourdain. I told you, this is the exact performance that you're going to get from both of these brothers. They walk in there, they will give you creative striking. They will show their hand on the striking multiple times on what they're wanting to do and what their game plan is. And stubbornly enough, they hard nose their way through that. They don't set it up differently. They don't try to engage in the action differently. No, they just go for the same move the exact same way and pray to God that you have an opponent like Davy Grant who decides to put his face into your knee the third time you've jumped in the air to fake it. It's absolutely crazy that he got caught by it because Davy Grant is a very good rangy fighter. He's often good at staying on the outside and not getting baited into traps. What Charles Jourdain was able to do was bait this dude into a strike that he already whiffed 4 different times. So
Oh, Jesus.
how it works for Charles, and it will work for Louis as well. These brothers are going to be what they are. This is what they train. They're good at baiting you into something fucking stupid. Excuse me, something fucking stupid. But the thing about them is it's not just I completely disregarded and left out the thought that Charles Jourdain was going to be able to hurt Davy Grant on the feet because Davy Grant is so good at staying at range and rolling punches and not taking a lot of impact from shots. I never expected Davy Grant to put his face right there. Charles Jourdain, though, I always expected to have the crafty veteran status on the ground, that as soon as it got to the ground or whenever he needed to throw a submission up, it was in there and it was done. And it's exactly what happened. Davy Grant got his nose fucking broke, shot for a takedown, and Charles Jourdain wrapped up a guillotine, and it was done. So love to see it. This is another guy who, when I first started watching the sport again, stuck out to me as somebody that had the full package, and if utilized correctly, they could be special. It's not just they have the technicality, not just they have the skill, not just they have the cardio. They have the creativeness and the willingness and confidence to try things in the cage that people, they're not going to expect it because it's not a traditional move to see from opponents. Charles Jourdain has the X factor is what that is called.
Well, and also that leads into the point that I had, which is Jourdain. You're talking about the range that Grant keeps, but Jourdain manages range really well himself. If you saw some of his footwork earlier on in the fight, like get in and get his shots, and then he is elsewhere, like in a good way. I mean, it's like, you'd think that would signal evasiveness, but really what it was go get what you want. You like say you whiff one of the jump knee attempts, get out of the way, set yourself up for the next set of sequences, allow Davy Grant to start trying to throw some of his power shots, which he certainly was. I mean, he was throwing with power, but the range that Jourdain was keeping was really based on the footwork, and I was very impressed by his movement. So it was just, if at first you don't succeed, try again, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, jump knee number 3 is what ends up having Jourdain get what he wants out of it, and then the heavy shots into the guillotine finish was really amazing. The guillotine nearly took his head clean off of his shoulders, so that was also very impressive. You could see him when he was getting that guillotine. He was like, "Oh yeah, there's no way you're getting out of this, brother." Like he was very confident in it. Grant with that nose annihilated by the knee going down to the ground in the first place. Blood was flying out of his face. So this was a really very impressive performance for Jourdain, on top of a lot of very solid foundational elements that led to it. And Grant just was not prepared for what he was in for.
Hear me out. And I've been doing a lot of comparisons today, and I think I've honestly been cooking. And I think this next one people are going to hate just because Charles Jourdain is 17-8. This is not somebody that I'm saying in the slightest has the exact skill set and or the ability to make magic happen. But this performance of Charles Jourdain, what he was able to do, what I saw in his last couple of performances is he was very bad at keeping himself stuck in a rhythm of throwing the same combination. He would throw, left hook, right hook, and then throw like an uppercut behind it. And that's how he'd start all of his combinations. And it was very predictable. John Silva obviously missed weight, punked him out. Bullshit. We don't really talk about that. But Charles Jourdain in this performance, I'm getting back to the comparison. Charles Jourdain in this performance cut out the predictability, other than the knee, cut out the predictability of starting every exchange the same way. And he kind of was just in a flow state. He was really just letting strikes happen the way they are. And it was kind of like a Yuri Prohaska. Listen, hear me out. The way that Charles was fighting in this one right here, if you go back and watch Yuri against Khalil, I think you would see a little similarities there. Just randomly just jumping for a knee when the dude's face is nowhere fucking near it. I think it's identical right there. Just saying.
All right. I mean, I can see maybe a little bit of overlap. Perhaps those circles have some middle
Yeah,
ground, perhaps. Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought that this was really good. I was with CTE thinking that Grant was going to be able to just point him and maybe end up getting a solid shot landed that would stagger Jourdain, but Jourdain just really with the nice setups. I mean, like and again, like I said, he it's like he's trying to get the right version of it. So like the first one didn't land. Like he had like 3 different incarnations of it. It was one that was like he started going for it and then just kind of came back down to his feet. He had one that he actually went for that sort of grazed Davy Grant, and it's like in Davy Grant's mind, it's like, surely this guy is not going to go for another one of these. And then sure enough, he does, and that does the trick. So shout out to him. Stick to itiveness is certainly something that you can apply to Charles Jourdain.
this is the beginning of where I feel like I made two generational calls right here because I knew Charles Jourdain by sub is so live, and it was one of my most confident things that I knew he could and should be able to submit Davy Grant. And the first opportunity He got it done. And now that was after, obviously, a brutal fucking knee. That could have been a knockout right there. But the fact that I was confident in the sub, Charles Jourdain, again, is a striker base because obviously all the fights start on the feet. He's able to lead the dance there until it gets into his wheelhouse where he is able to shine, which is the grappling. He's a grappler, guys. I don't all the other striking shit that you see, it is just to get you right where he wants you, and that is on the ground where he can choke you out. So shout out to Charles Jourdain. This is again one of the guys that got me back into watching the sport consistently, and I'm very happy that he's back in the win column and the way
Yeah.
that he did it, of course.
Sure, same here. Honestly, I mean, I'm a big fan of Davy Grant. I was not happy with him being the person on the other end of it, but fan of Charles Jourdain as well. And I thought it was nice that he brings his brother Louis in during his interview and says, "This is the first pair of brothers in the UFC." And DC had to laugh and correct him on that. Yes, the first pair of Canadian brothers in the UFC. But I like the guys. I like both of them. Honestly, we were just talking about his brother on the Contender series and how great he did. I think that the two of them, if Jourdain Charles is this good, then Jourdain Louis might even be slightly better going forward, perhaps. And there's a high ceiling for both of these guys. Also called out Marcus McGee, which I thought was an interesting matchup.
I kind of dig it because Marcus McGee, if you think about that call out specifically, Marcus McGee was somebody who was in a matchup with Peter Yan that people really didn't give him the credit for. I actually was publicly saying that's a fight that probably isn't going to happen. That's two dudes not on the same level. Those names don't match up. For Charles Jourdain to call out Marcus McGee and in theory get that matchup, he's seemingly slipping his name into contention spots without anybody batting an eye. Like it's not like he's calling out Peter Yan and being like, "Okay, calm down, buddy." Calling out the dude that was way out of Peter Yan's league, but also was able to secure a matchup with him. I mean, Charles Jourdain could get his name up there with the likes of Sugar Sean, Song Yadong, Cheeto Vera, Iman Zahabi, whatever you want to say. And nobody's batting an eye because it's like, oh, it's Marcus McGee. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. But in theory, that dude's a really high ranked guy as of right now. So Charles Jourdain, that was a pretty slick move, I think.
I agree. I think it'd be a fun fight as well. Marcus McGee is always game, and Charles Jourdain showing that he is as well. So I think that's a stylistically a fun matchup as well. So, yeah, good deal there. Also wanted to kind of shout out the chat. I see the conversation about the modified guillotines being like the next move. That's how the sport works in a real way. Is that if you have your standard move set, it's those little modifications to the baseline moves that end up being the next things that end up working. Because like for a long time when we were seeing elbows being thrown, it was like your basic side elbow would be like almost the most that you would see out of elbows at all. And then now you start seeing people throwing it up. You see them throwing it at different angles. You start seeing and especially obviously since the 12-6 is legal now, you see a variety. So it's like you take the baseline and start moving the needle a little bit more. And that's how the sport evolves. So I think that it's a good thing to pick up on there.
100%.
All right. Well, short fight number 2 coming up here. This is Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. This made me very sad. My girl Jazzy getting taken care of very easily, but it was somewhat comical, I will admit.
This was damn near. I mean, genuinely, like I'm not a big fan of Jasmine, but I can understand. She's a prospect. She's hot. She's been beating competition that means something. And when you get stepped up to the plate against someone like Manon, I mean, you obviously expect something. Like you expect something out of the matchups, especially with women. You don't genuinely expect to just get flatlined in the first fucking exchange. Like Manon is she is a very powerful puncher. I've often compared her to Justin Gaethje before, and now that was that was stripping away the ability to be the human highlight reel, of course, with the knockout ability. She's very good with her boxing. She's very good with a jab. She's very good at takedown defense. What I completely disregarded was that she would not is that she would come into a matchup with the mindset, and I don't even know if she was actually thinking this, but it's just the way that it came out, is like she could come in here and take somebody's head off with one fucking punch. I don't know if she necessarily had the confidence for that or if Jasmine just literally just got caught just like straight off guard. But Manon came in here crisp as hell, threw a straight and just sat her down, and just beat the hell out of her for about 13 seconds before the ref finally stepped in. And Jasmine, of course, shout out her, bless her heart for thinking that she was okay. No, what are you doing? No, I'm good. She's falling over and shit. Like, girl, come on. Like,
Yeah, I
oh
mean her
brother.
face got bounced off of the mat at one
Yeah,
point. That was the shot that ended up being the one that where he stopped it, and I was like, "Come on, if your face is going down like that, like of course it's going to get stopped. You can't.
yeah,
There's nothing to protest." But yeah, no, I mean Manon was a little bit cautious at the start of this, but I think that commentary probably had it somewhat correct. She knew that Jasmine is going to try to wrestle. I mean, Manon is a weight bully. I think that this is pretty well established at this point. She is very big. And so she shout out to her. She can make the weight. You can make the weight. That's how the sport works. So she comes in bigger than Jasmine. So Jasmine knew that she was going to be trying to wrestle. Manon knew it as well. She keeps backing up, allowing Jasmine to think that it's time to start priming for the takedown, and then she just catches her with a really solid counter. I think that's really what it was. You say, if she just got caught, that's kind of what it looked like to me. I mean, now we know that Manon has power in her hands, so it's not that crazy to think that she would just catch a chick off guard. So, this all kind of tracks to me. I mean, it was just unfortunate for Jazz DeVicious to be on the other end of it, but she ends up doing the stanky leg for a little minute there. That was certainly a spectacle. Knee to the body was also very sharp for Manon. Like Manon knew that she had her hurt. Like it was obviously obvious, but like it was good of her to like have the instinct to pick up on it immediately, get the knee off. Ground strikes were heavy. Jasmine's face plants into the mat. It is what it is.
Yeah, it sucks. It just genuinely does suck because this is a prospect, a true women's prospect that we didn't get an opportunity to see her compete against someone who is legit the top of the division right now. Especially with you know, I don't know. This one is just, it sucks because I genuinely wanted to see what Jasmine was going to be able to do against Manon, but we didn't get that opportunity. So that just
Yeah.
sucks.
That you're exactly right about that. It is unfortunate to think that Jasmine, that she has such a well-rounded game, and she's very like she's like once she gets her hands on you, she can be very effective. But that, of course, did not happen here. So, kind of a what if, unfortunately. And we've seen Manon do this to other surging prospects. I mean, Erin Blanchfield, where the hell she been lately, right? I mean, it's like I mean, she has been back since then, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, Erin Blanchfield was on the verge of getting a title shot. Manon was the one that she needed to get through, couldn't do it. Jasmine in a very similar boat. So, yeah, I mean, that's about it really for this one. Sad to say. The only other thing I had on this was I was curious your thoughts on Manon's iced out Labubu chain.
I genuinely think, without her knowing, she could be one of the cringiest people on this planet. It also has to do with just the way she looks. I mean, no disrespect. When the fight started, I said it is impressive that Manon looks the way she does in these fights, because I genuinely, I'm looking at her and I'm like, yeah, I mean that's about as best as I thought it was gonna get too. But she comes out here and starches women in the first 30 seconds. I don't give a shit what's happening.
Right.
Bring out your iced out fucking Labubu chain. I don't know what it even that is. Is this a French? Is this a France thing? The only thing that I know, and this is the greatest thing, is that Manon really went on horseback into Jasmine's favela and took over. Once
Truth.
again, history repeated itself.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I know that Hydra not too happy about a French lady beating a Canadian. That there, there's some history there,
Mhm.
it's a continuing history, of course. But yeah, I don't know what to think about the Labubu chain. I do think it is also very cringe. She's not a young lady. Um,
That's the thing. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
it's a
bro.
little bit odd. I mean, I guess I got to give her a little bit of leeway. I'm an older dude at this point who will not stop wearing band shirts. So it is what it is. I'm set in my ways. So maybe she's just young at heart. I guess
I never get that from her though. That was just like a weird character niche
she,
that
she
that she has.
she's got the look of a French woman who smokes cigarettes on a balcony out there overlooking the Eiffel Tower. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
certainly not somebody I would expect the Labubu chain from.
But now you know. Now
Yeah,
you know that's hanging from that neck.
there you go. Exactly. And when you see the Labubu, you know that there's a fucking left hand behind it.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I mean, Jasmine back to the drawing board, unfortunately. But I mean, it's hard with Manon now. I mean, she's challenged for the belt. Like, what do you just keep circling the top of the division for a while? I guess.
That's what you got to do until
Yeah,
somebody takes her off. I mean, it's how it is in every
true.
division.
Yeah, and Val and Wei Li are coming up, so maybe there'll be a little bit of a shakeup up there.
True.
All right. Moving on to the next one here. This was Marlon Chito Vera versus Eamon Zahabi. Marlon Chito Vera was pretty like he had a bit of a mean streak in him in this fight. I mean, I guess they touched, but like there was that time in between rounds when he was like forehead to forehead with him. I had heard a clip before this fight, him telling Eamon to go fuck himself. Like he had a lot of like really, I mean, I guess it's just maybe just fight selling, but after this fight was over, he marched straight the hell out of there. That could be because he lost, but at the same time, it just seemed like Cheeto had a little bit of a fire up his ass for some unknown reason, considering that Eamon Zahabi is about as nice a Canadian as a nice Canadian can be.
Well, yeah, we actually have decided, and this is me and the MMA Hive. We've decided that we like Eamon Zahabi. This dude is genuinely a Chad. I mean, this is a guy who in in fights often that we've seen, he gets his ass whooped for a very small portion of it. And he's actually not quitting. Like he actually gets up and he in this one he took a very very long time to like get reacclimated to the fight. He got dropped by Cheeto, and when I say dropped, I mean this dude was all over the fucking cage. Like he tripped, he fell backwards, he probably rolled around. A dust cloud was around him or something for a second. But then he gets up and he's very defensive, and he spends the rest of the 2 minutes or whatever circling the cage and staying safe, and that's cool. Then we get the next round, and he actually comes out and he starts fighting again. Like he actually does have a little bit of a warrior's spirit, and it's for somebody who we don't necessarily classify as active per se, and that he also looks like Ariel Hawani, but like he gives him and Ariel a pretty good rep. Like this dude actually he's a fighter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that you guys are coming around to what I have already known. I mean, that's literally you took the words out of my mouth. The only thing that's going against Damon Zahabi was the inactivity for a while. I mean, the guy's on a 7-fight win streak right now after this
Mhm.
win. So, I mean, he's been doing his thing. Of course, he's also the brother of Faraz Zahabi, a great coach in the sport. I mean, one of the great minds of the sport, I would class him as. So, I mean, there's really not much to dislike, in my opinion. He goes out there, he fights his fight. And on the other side of it, when it comes to this fight specifically, it's the same note. Cheeto has no urgency. This guy does not like Cheeto wants the fight to be handed to him. I'm not saying that he wants the fight to be handed to him as in like, oh, I'm just going to go on there and like I'll knock him out easily. I'm saying that Cheeto needs the fight to literally be brought in front of his face so that he can go in there and have the exact fight that he wants. He's not a go out and take it kind of fighter. And when Eamon Zahabi is in there, he will do that. He'll fight through the knockdown. The knockdown is a perfect example of it. Solid jab puts him on his ass. No urgency from Cheeto at all to follow up and finish the fight thereafter. Zahabi recovers almost instantly after that because he did not go after it.
I love the commentators. Oh, Cheeto's stalking him now. And then we watch him for 2 more rounds. Dude, fuck all.
Walking around, he is walking around waiting for the fight to come to him, and it's not ever going to be an effective method of getting the fight. Like if you're a counter striker, that's a very different thing than what we're talking about here. Cheeto is just a waiter. He's a wait and seer.
Mhm. Yeah, this one, out of all the performances for Cheeto to get up and mad about the decisions, I mean, it's probably a built up of like, man, I'm really getting screwed over all these times, and then now I feel like I get screwed over for this is the last time I let this happen. Like, hopefully he really gets it through his head, like, yo, stop going to the fucking judges, because clearly, if you believe that they were going to give the Canadian the judges nod, well, it shouldn't have been that fucking close of a fight, dickhead. You could have won another round.
Yeah, right. And he didn't. It was kind of crazy to me that this even was a split decision. I didn't think that Cheeto did enough in either of the rounds besides the second where he knocked him down that would have warranted him getting the nod. So I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe look, if you want to go strike by strike, maybe you can make a case there somewhere. But like watching the fight, it did not feel that way. And also, I'm telling you, optically, he does not exude winner. And that is look, this sport is a lot about optics. We've talked about this plenty of times on this show. Like, there are things that signal winner in your mind. He does not do that. They were talking about that a little on commentary, like the big moments, the oohs and ahs moments. It's like Cheeto wants the fight to be handed to him in a way that these fighters are not going to, especially at the top of the division. So,
Yeah.
I thought that Zahabi did perfectly fine in this fight. And, I will give Cheeto a little bit of leeway, considering that it did look like he broke his finger in the first round. I don't know if you saw him like readjusting his finger at that point. Like, yeah, that sucks. That does happen in fights. And yeah, it makes it a lot harder. But yeah, we've seen the same Cheeto without a broken finger. So I'm not buying it that was the decider.
Yeah, I'm not buying. I mean, not that I'm not buying the broken finger thing. I definitely did look like his finger was messed up. He continued to punch with that hand for the
Right.
entirety. I mean, it never seemed to look like it bothered him, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Which, granted, I would not think the Cheeto Vera would let a finger break or dislocation, affect him throughout the fight. That's something that would happen to Rose Namajunas with her fucking pinky. But that's just my opinion. Cheeto Vera's got to be built from a different cloth than that. I can't allow myself to believe that the Cheeto Vera would let a dislocation or a fractured finger, something like that, stop him from fighting, at least a winning style. That's
No,
just my
no, it's
opinion.
definitely not that. No, it's just again, it goes back to what I've been saying. It's the lack of urgency that you just see from Cheeto. It's what I said on the watch along when we were talking about Cheeto is I think that he rose off of a narrative that he never was able to live up to with the Sean O'Malley and everything that you know about what happened with that fight. That's that series of everything. It created a mystique around Cheeto that was not deserved, and now you're seeing the down the line what that leads up to.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, Eamon Zahabi called out Sean O'Malley. So, I mean, he is on a 7-fight win streak. Sounds appropriate to me. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a high jump, but not really. Like I said, 7 fights in a row. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Honestly, he doesn't even have to fight Sean. Just give him a Rob. Just give him.
I mean, well, that's the end of everything, right? I mean, that's kind of the sad point that the bantamweight division is at, is that all of these guys can fight for their chance to be the next victim.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. That's that one. Let's talk about this co-main event here. This is Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Generally I have 1 or 2 notes. This note sheet looks like an entire novel based on what happened in this fight.
Yeah, I think I'll let you do a lot of the novelization of this one, because what really there's two things that happen. Mike Malott gets 2 nut shots, no point gets taken. He also tries to blame Kevin Holland for it. Like, no, that was right on the belt. Like, come on, yeah, come on. And it just wasn't a proper decision, is what I will say there.
I've got plenty to say about Mike Malott's handling of the situation as well. But yeah, I'll go through it then. Malott comes into this fight all business. I think he was anticipating the antics from Kevin Holland. I think that was a big part of like why Malott was so like Mr. Stern. He didn't want to touch gloves.
Mhm.
Kevin matched his tone though. He was pretty focused coming into this thing, not much talking. I thought that this started off as like a pretty competitive fight. Holland is a little bit more stylized and crafty in his movements. Malott is very technical. He's very base heavy, I would say. He doesn't move as well, but he's really strong with his striking. So this was going pretty much according to plans. Holland dropped Malott, sorta. He had that overhand that landed, and then he kind of ankle picked him at the same time. I was like, good. Like Holland was doing pretty decent work in that regard. Everything was going pretty okay. There was some good wrestling as well. They were tumbling, rolling through at times. This was a fine fight leading up to what ends up becoming of these low blows. So the first low blow, pretty spot on, actually. Kevin only took a brief moment for that one, but got back to business. But that one was a pretty direct impact, right? Second low blow was in the clinch. The knee lands to the body, so Malott was not incorrect about that. But the shin was firmly on the cup, and you saw the cup move. So it's like Malott can complain about it being legal all he wants, because the knee is up here, but the shin is all here. So like there was connection, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, whatever. That lands squarely on the cup. Holland reacts pretty badly. Holland takes the full 5 minutes and then some. If you noticed, like he didn't start right back up at the 5. Like he took an extra couple of seconds there. No point deduction for it. Big Dan continuously is asking him, "Can you continue? Can you continue? It's like, bro, if he can't continue, just call the fight. You make the call, referee in charge of the action. Every time that they start a fight, that's what they call you. So do your job. But he did not call it. Whatever. Kevin Holland is sitting there, not just at time in the going into the second after the first round finally comes to an end. The doctor gets called in. Kevin, he's asking the same questions. Mergliata's asking him, and he's not responding to either of them. One of those two had the ability to end this fight. That would have been appropriate, but Kevin just evades his way through the rest of that one round, grabbing his cup throughout the entirety of it. You could see that he was affected. That's it. As I said, the doctor comes in, so now the doctor and the ref are both asking him if he can continue. Then Dan Mergliata, this is the big note here. Okay, all of what I said is whatever. You can say that Mergliata handling it is what it is. This is the big note. Dan Mergliata tells Kevin that because the shot was an accidental foul, if Kevin can't continue, then Kevin's going to lose by disqualification. What?
Nice.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Pardon me? He was the one that got fouled. How is he going to lose this fight? I remember sitting there in the moment, not being able to fully process it in my mind. Vince King was the one that picked up on that. And he's like, what does he mean that he would lose? I'm like, wait a second, you're right. What is that? So, like, what the fuck was Dan Mergliata thinking? He was the person that got fouled. There's no way he would have been the one that would have been losing by disqualification, by an accidental. I mean, like, it would have been a no contest at worst, I would hope. I mean, there's no justification for how Mergliata handled that part of it. This was such a monumental bungling by Mergliata, not once, but now twice in one event.
Yeah, no, this one was really bad because, Kevin Holland is not normally one of these guys that shies away from a co-main event spot. I mean, this is big stuff for him and Dana. I mean, he's Dana's golden boy. He wants to fight for him. So I truly believe that if Kevin Holland was able to fight without, trying to readjust his nutsack every 30 seconds in the remainder of the first round, I think that's what would have happened. Now, the second round was interesting to start because, we have the doctors in there and everybody's just got their hands in their pockets looking up at Kevin like, you going? Are you going to fight? And Kevin just didn't say anything.
Just stone faced, just looking at him like.
And props to him. He knows what he's doing. Kevin Holland is a smart guy because he got away with everything he needed to. The fight continued on. Now he didn't win, but he did not quit like some other people that we will end up talking about.
Right. And this is where also the other half of the bungling comes in, because come on, Dan Mergliata has been around for a very long time. The fighter is not going to say, I cannot continue, especially a guy like Kevin Holland. Come on, dude. This level, maybe a Contender Series guy might be different, but this dude is not going to tell you that. But what he's saying to you is, you make the call. You're the referee. This is your fucking job. Do your job. He did not do his job. Neither did the doctor, honestly. And I kind of felt bad for the doctor, even because the doctor should not have even been brought into the equation. This could have been just between Mergliata and Kevin. I mean, the doctor, there was no need for the doctor. What was he going to check his fucking nuts?
I don't know if you caught the ref had a microphone on for this event. So Dan Mergliata walks over to Kevin and he's like, what's the deal? Can you go? And Kevin says, dude, my fucking balls hurt. That was a really funny line in the microphone. And I'm like, yeah, I get, yeah, it does. I can assume. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The ball, the fucking the lower stomach. I mean, you've been kicked in the nuts before. You know what that feels like. Anytime that it happens to a fighter, I'm always thinking about that, because you know how it lingers. You know what I mean? It's not something that goes away, especially the impact that these guys have. So, whatever. I mean, it turns into a bungling, and of course, Kevin he's very flat and stiff for the rest of this fight. Thereafter, Malott catches him in the nuts again almost catches him in the nuts again with a front kick. Like, that was pretty funny. The commentary is like, Malott needs to watch out for those kicks. I'm like, Malott hasn't been watching out for anything in this fight, so like, why would he start now? It's like, what, a point deduction? He's going to win the fight. You can take as many points as you want. So, so it just turned out to be a really unfortunate deal here. The one strong point I want to give Kevin Holland some credit for is in the third round, Mike Malott had a head and arm choke that looked pretty dead to rights, and he was able to roll out of that. I was like, you want to talk about veteran craftiness? That is the veteran status confirmed right there. Kevin Holland being able to evade that head and arm.
It's actually funny because the same thing happened with him and Gunnar Nelson. Kevin Holland is actually one person that I've ever seen do this escape this way because, we have a lot of people who, they answer the phone and then they literally put themselves in the arm triangle and then they just sit there and think that something else is going to happen. And then they end up tapping. Kevin Holland actually does that method and then is able to roll out of it, which I don't know how it works necessarily. I don't see anybody else do it, but he is 2 for 2 on getting out of the arm triangle, Mike Malott and Gunnar Nelson. And whatever you want to say about Kevin Holland, I've always known that he is good at jujitsu. So that doesn't surprise me. But what I will say is surprising is that, again, we have no repercussions on Vegas or anybody who's out here sports gambling on a situation like this. Say you take Kevin Holland and now he gets smashed in the fucking dick 2 times, and then Vegas is still saying, "Yeah, go make sure you win your money. Make sure you guys go ahead and do it." So that's just, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy that this is why I'm glad I didn't bet on a matchup like this, because it's not even something that Kevin Holland could have done or didn't do. Like, you always say Kevin Holland is betting poison, and
Just gonna say, yeah.
here's the reason why, but it's not even something that he could have controlled, or, Dan Murgliata could have saved everybody's. He could have had the bets voided for everybody. But Vegas is giving all the power to Dan Murgliata and Kevin Holland and Mike Malott.
Well, that one's a little different than the steroids, I would say, because the fight's already underway, and there's, as we talked about with the Drew Dober fight, there's only so many ways to handle it. Now, it could have taken the point, but again, it wouldn't have mattered. So, I mean, I guess maybe it could have made it a possible draw, but either way, whatever. It just, you are right to feel how you feel about it. It's a little bit of a more unique situation. You're right, though, that it does lend credence to my motto that Kevin Holland is indeed betting poison in a roundabout way here. And the only other thing that I had was that Mike Malott had the absolute fucking nerve at the end of this thing to say, well, hey guys, it's hard to get my knees up that high. Well, hey Mike, if it's so hard to get your knees up that high, don't throw the illegal strikes, buddy.
Yeah. Um, you know, Mike Malott is a fun dude. He's a fun character. It's actually just it's quite funny that you have somebody who represents Canada in the way that he does. Like, he genuinely, after any performance ever, he'll go out there and say, "I'll fucking die for Canada. I fucking love you guys. I just want to fucking fight in front of." It's like, man, I have never seen anybody just genuinely want to fight in front of their home country that bad.
That is so funny that you say that. I would not have even remembered this, but I was I was doing laundry earlier today, and that came into my mind, and I just started going to a monologue in his voice, like, Canada, I love you guys so much, Canada. Throw those Canadian flags up, Canada.
Yeah.
I was like waving my shirt around. It's like, yeah, he really is Captain Canada. But now, I mean, I think that he's really more going into his Captain Canada villain arc over here. I think the Mike Malott heel turn is underway here, considering not only all of what we just talked about, but also what we talked about at the beginning, where he was coming out really determined and almost unsportsmanlike. I mean, Kevin Holland left the hand out there for quite a minute saying, hey, let's touch. He did not want to touch. So, Mike Malott versus the rest of the world representing Canada, perhaps, but maybe now a villain has emerged.
Yeah, but this one doesn't move the needle because he had to cheat to get it. So that's just unfortunate.
Again, part of the villain arc now. So I think that the next guy that fights him has to be an American, and he has to go and get one back for the good old stars and stripes, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I actually think Mike Malott can finally, if he would like to actually take his talents upwards in the rankings. I mean, obviously Kevin Holland is a pretty big name. We need to see you outside of Canada, buddy. We literally need to see you not fight in front of your own fucking family every time.
He fought Trevin Giles in the Apex now.
Does that count? That might as well.
Okay. In front of an audience outside of
There
Canada.
we go. There we
Gotcha.
go.
I'm with it. Also, yeah, shout out to TJF saying, Mike Malott's brother is pretty cool. And his brother is a professional hockey player, plays for the LA Kings. So
Nice.
Just a little side note. All right, let's close this thing out with the main event here. This is an interesting case. This is Rainier de Ridder versus Brandon Allen. This is one of the most dramatic stock drops that we've seen in one fight in a recent memory based on what happened in this fight specifically. I mean, when was the last time you saw a fighter at this level specifically? We've seen fighters throw in the towel. I mean, we were talking about that on the watch along. That I forget which fight it was. You might remember where it was a dude who was getting knocked out, and the corner threw the towel in as the knockout was happening. I don't remember which fight that specifically was, but it was recent. But like, that's a completely different story to this. We have not seen a fighter retire, as they say on Tapology, aka throwing in the towel, quitting on the stool. We have not seen that at this level of competition in quite some time. So this is a rather big upturn for a person who was in line for a title shot based on this fight.
I would just like to say that I feel so good. Again, this is just galaxy brain chase right here. Everybody, and I mean everybody, was so confident that Renier de Ritter had two knees and a title ship waiting for his name on it. Like I genuinely just did not see it being a walk in the park for Brendan Allen to just get manhandled. And I will say, after the first round, it was sketchy. I was like, okay, all right, if he can do this and finish it, I believe it. I definitely believe in an RDR. What I want to make note also is I remember having discussions with people, and I was like, Renier de Ritter comes from one. I watch one religiously now. I can attest that the grappling and MMA portions of these events are lackluster. Who can you tell me that Renier de Ritter has grappled with that makes me believe that he could grapple with someone like Brendan Allen? And the person told me that he went to decision or something with the Rotullo brother, one of them. And my immediate question was, isn't this dude a heavyweight compared to like a fucking lightweight? Like, if couldn't he have just manhandled him if it was grappling? Like, I'm confused on why there was a huge weight discrepancy there or something like that.
Well, the
And
grappling is the equalizer, though, right? I mean, with
I,
weight.
I wouldn't say. I mean, if you're this dude was a former heavyweight man,
True.
like
You are true. Yeah, I mean, that is true.
so when I think of something like that, I'm like, okay, that's questionable. If he couldn't even get over on a dude half his size or whatever in the grappling, then maybe we should start questioning something. But I let it live at that point. Okay, Rotullo, that's a grappling guy, sure, decent enough. And when you get to this first round, I arguably said this was a 10-8 first round. I mean, this was very dominant for De Ritter. It wasn't strike heavy, but it was dominant enough where you watched it and you knew that Brendan Allen had nothing in that first round. There was no answers. There was no return fire. RDR was in full control that whole first round. I thought it was a 10-8. Second round starts and it goes completely down south for Mr. RDR. Brendan Allen, it's almost immediately, because at the end of the first round, with like 4 seconds left, Brendan Allen actually gets the top position, and it didn't look too promising then, because I'm sitting here saying like, wow, you should have done that with 2 minutes left. You could have done it at the end of the round. Why didn't you do it 2 minutes ago? But fair play to him. Second round starts. RDR goes back to what he was doing, and Brendan Allen flips the position with 4 minutes left. And honestly, this fight, it was a fun performance, but it wasn't necessarily the highlights and fireworks that you were expecting. I really liked this performance because it was Brendan Allen chipping away at the better fighter on paper. I mean, this is everybody really thought RDR was the god. He was coming for this belt, and somebody as such a an un what's the word to say? Like, Brendan Allen is not the best. He's not the worst, but he's somebody that has been against the best, some of the best. He's been some against some of the worst, and he's often gained a lot of good experience from these matchups. And he's never been afraid to use the skills that he has, his striking and his grappling. And I was very happy that I was one of the only people confident that Brendan Allen would be able to walk in here and get this done. I didn't think he'd finish him. I did not think that was possible. I didn't think RDR's gas tank was going to be. I mean,
Yeah, I
it,
don't think anybody could have predicted how this was going to end.
it wasn't even a gas tank thing. I mean, this is true. This is heart right here. I mean, RDR didn't have the heart to get off the stool in the fifth round. I don't care what you guys want to say about the cardio. I get it, but I also this is a dude who has. You're 21-3, my man. You've fought for belts before.
Yeah, well,
you should know quitting in the corner is not acceptable.
Well, that's the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? I mean, he came out after the fact and said that he had neurovirus, which is also AKA food poisoning, prior to the fight. His coach defended the decision and all that. It's like, whatever, dude. It does not change the optics of quitting on the stool at the level that you are at the trajectory that you were at. It's almost unheard of. I mean, it's very hard to think of another example of that happening at this level of the sport. I mean, again, this dude was in line for a title shot based on this. This guy was going to have to fight Hamzat after this if he had gotten his way. So to
The
think that
last
this
time
was
this
even
happened,
possible. Yeah.
the last time it happened was with Shamil Gaziv, in his second. He had 2 UFC fights and then got jumped to the main event with Yair Rozenstruik and then quit in the 4th round or something like that.
Ah,
Just so everybody is aware.
okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, so I mean, look, you are correct. Kudos to you. You definitely picked Brandon Allen, and you were correct about that as well. I mean, Rainier did start this thing strong. I mean, it was all wrestling everything. So I mean, like, it was an interesting game plan to me. Like, if you I guess it depends on your perspective. If you take into consideration that he might have been compromised with some kind of sickness or whatever, then it's like, okay, I guess a wrestling heavy approach maybe makes more sense. Maybe the compromise might have affected the striking and the power levels. So going to that is like your instinct. Fine, but it seemed like an interesting approach considering that we know that Brendan Allen is good on the ground. So like for him to have Brendan Allen as under control as he did for the first round and a half, basically, I was like, wow, this is actually going RDR's way. And I thought for sure that because basically that second round, it was a mistake by DeRitter that ended up having Allen reversing the position and getting control. So I was like, surely this will be Brandon Allen's time to get a little bit of a little bit of control, and then we're going to see Rainier DeRitter come back in the third and reset, and everything will be back to normal. But when he got up from that second round, I was like, that dude is gassed. That dude is gassed out in the second round, and it looked really bad. And then it only got worse from there. So I don't know if it was gas. I don't know if it was the sickness. I don't know what it was. If you're saying it's heart, that's very concerning. Whatever it was, the optics, and again, we go back to the optics. You know what it looks like when you're seeing it, and he was in that state of I cannot do this.
Well, one of RDR's other losses is a loss similar to this, where he just did not get up against the one champion. He's now fighting Omar Khan or whatever. And Renier de Ritter did not get up and go to the stool. He at least did better in this matchup because he made it to the stool. But
Barely at the end there.
but what I will say is, this was not somebody that you looked at and you watch them walk to the corner and you're watching them huff and puff. You watch a dude sit there, take some time, and then he gets up and he's like, it's annoying to me because like I'm looking at a man who I'm watching not huff and puff, but you're telling me he's tired and not able to go. So probably a sickness thing is more reasonable to believe. But like when I watched him get up, yeah, Herzog is telling him, don't touch him, don't touch him. He's got to get up to the corner himself. He's got to do it himself. Get up, fighter, or we're going to call it. He finally gets up. But it's like this dude isn't even like, he's just kind of doing his fucking. It's actually really fucking annoying the way that he was breathing in that moment because you can, bro, if you're gasping for air, like I saw a dude in Contender Series laying in his fucking corner, like for 3 additional rounds, huffing and puffing, and that was a legit heavyweight who probably has never done cardio in his life, it has seemed. So that dude had more heart to go out here and finish the fight, willing to go out here and let some shit happen in the last. I don't know. That's just it. RDR. The fact that he did it against the Malkoon dude and won, one time's a charm, might be able to come back from it. You're young, you get to adapt, you got to learn, what you were capable in the sport, but you let it happen again, especially being some years apart or whatever it is, and a different organization, mate. Reputation. I mean, you are the reputable quitter at this point.
Yeah, I'm surprised that narrative had not been circulating in the fan community much more so than it was when he came into the organization. I would have thought something like that would have been all over the place. Yeah, this guy is prone to that type of behavior. I mean, granted, it was at heavyweight, different story, perhaps, whatever, but you saw it here now. So, I found out about that after the fact and was like, man, that's something that I wish I had known, I don't know, yesterday, you know?
Well,
Uh,
CT ESPN, I don't know if it's comparable, took tons of damage against the Roid Monster heavyweight. Yeah, but it's like, again, in this performance, he took a little bit of damage. There was some good elbows, good ground and pound. He was getting folded up like a pretzel by Brendan Allen most of this performance. But does this warrant a quit? He didn't even get his ass whooped, really. I mean, he had some shots and he had a big old lump on his head, but like, it wasn't like Brendan Allen was whooping this dude. He was shoving this dude in all the positions that he didn't want to be. Every time RDR threw his legs up, Brendan Allen just shoves him back down. And I thought it was a really good performance. Brendan Allen utilizing the country farm strength that I knew he was capable of having.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really you're on point with the assessment from Allen. It's just it was a systematic wearing down
Yeah.
of RDR, and that's really what it ended up being in the big picture. And I mean, again, only Renier de Ritter can know exactly what was going on in his body and in his mind in the moment that he decided not to go back in for that fifth round. But whatever the answer is, I mean, if your stock was on the rise, and that you see that needle tick, 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 ticking. I mean, it just went straight through the basement now. I mean, you don't come back from a narrative like this. I'm sorry. I mean, it's going to take a lot of wins, and even then, it will always be hanging over you. I guarantee you, 10 fights from now, people are still going to be talking about the time that he quit on the stool. I mean,
Mate,
it's inescapable.
it's not even just that he quit. It's like Brendan Allen is the one that took you to
Yeah,
deep water and made
yeah.
you on short notice, 3 weeks, walked in, trained with Bilal, and said, I'm taking your soul, mate." And of course, shout out Nostality. Brendan CP Smalls Allen does own the Netherlands now because we are Chads over here.
Ah,
This is the place. Yes. So
gotcha. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, like I loved Hamzat's response to this, where he said, "What the hell?" He said something along the lines of, "This bullshit guy quits." And I
yes.
was like, that's a pretty good succinct way to say it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you even do with RDR at this point now because of that. Again, this is just one of those things that fundamentally changes the perception of a fighter. What do you even do with Brendan Allen? I mean, like he can't. Surely he cannot get a title shot off of that. So I mean, like, do you have him versus Fluffy now? I mean, that he already did that. Like, what do you know what I'm
Literally
saying?
happened like 3 months ago or
That's
some
what I'm
shit like that.
saying. So,
Yeah.
like, but Fluffy is the only answer I would say right now. So it's like I think that really what you do, sadly, is I think that you just leapfrog both of them and then give the loser of the fight to Allen, maybe, or maybe have Allen as the next one up after, depending on who wins. If Fluffy ends either way, if Fluffy or Hamzat wins, you have Allen be the next challenger thereafter in line. And
Imavov, buddy.
oh, right, Imavov as well. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I mean, okay, then
Give
I don't
him
know.
Izzy. Fuck it.
I guess it's like what I'm saying. My point is, whatever ends up actually happening is kind of irrelevant. My point is that it's unfortunate that Brandon Allen is in the position that he's in now because it's like a win with this set of circumstances, the style of win, all of the things that are the circumstances here. It doesn't necessarily even help him out. Like it does not push him into the direction he needs to go. The only person who had anything to gain from this fight was Renier de Ritter, and now he completely bungled that. You dropped all of his stock.
I actually think Hydra's cooking. Allen and Drekus have beef. Match them. You know how Brendan Allen fights when he's got beef. If you want to look back at Vittori's face at what Brendan Allen was willing to do against that dude, I mean, Brendan Allen is a grappler again at heart, but he's one of these guys that if you give him a little bit of a battery, he'll show you how game he is when it comes to this MMA shit. So
And he did ask for it too, so I guess that does make sense.
true. There you go.
Yeah. All right, fair enough then. I mean, shout out to Brandon Allen, I guess, for being the man that could chip away all of the pieces off of the block of Renier de Ritter, but it's harder to think that that's the case.
It's just so crazy. It makes me so frustrated that people watch Renier de Ritter and they watch him. They need, he knees Bo Nickel to death. He knees Rob Whitaker to death, and then everybody's just like they're just so. I don't know if it's just casual or they're just lazy. It's like, oh, he's just gonna knee him. He's gonna knee Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen is just gonna get kneed. He's just gonna fucking lose. He's gonna get kneed by already. It's like, why does people think that a fighter who is good at something that they do, a handful of times. It's like, that's just gonna be what they do every single fight. He's just gonna knee the next guy. He's gonna obliterate him with knees. Brendan Allen sucks. Knee, knee, knee. Like, it makes me so frustrated because, like, did you just thought he was just gonna walk in and you saw he kneed him once in the fight. He
Well, no,
literally
but see, I don't think it's a casual take to think that the fighter that does something well will do it. But I think that the difference here is that he didn't try to strike at all, basically. I mean, like, there was no striking in this fight. Like, this was all on the ground. And that, I think, was very confusing to a lot of people. And again, I think it does signal towards him having some kind of compromise coming into the fight. And that's all well and good, my man. That's very fine if that's the case, but it does not matter.
I think this was, if I don't want to believe the sickness story, if I want to play devil's advocate, this looked like somebody who was too confident in their grappling. They thought the first round they were going to walk in there and get an arm triangle. That's why he sat on him in full mount, holding the position, because I'm working this. He ain't getting it. I'm getting this here. And then when he gets out and he can't get it, and he realizes, well, I just spent a whole first round working for a position that didn't fucking work, and now I'm tired. Oh shit. Well, it doesn't look like I'm built for this fourth round. We're gonna go ahead and call it. So it just a little bit of the gamrot. Like, he walked in with the confidence that I'm a better grappler than this person. It's not gonna matter what they do. I'm just levels ahead of them.
Well,
So
that definitely does sound devil's advocate-y on that side of the equation. If I want to be a little bit more charitable, I will say that that maybe the neurovirus narrative does track based on, also after hindsight was a portion of this as well, because I always rewatch these fights. So rewatching this, I kind of took note of his body language at the beginning of the fight, and he did seem a little bit off. Like, now knowing after the fact that there was something wrong, so I'll be a little bit more kind to him in that regard. But again, it does not matter. It doesn't matter how kind I am or how other way you go with it. The facts are the facts. You do not do this in this sport. This is like one of the cardinal sins of this sport, I would say. I mean, you cannot come back from quitting on the stool. I mean, we just saw Kevin Holland get kneed in the nuts, and almost beg without begging the ref to stop this fight for him. He would not do it and went out there and fought through the pain of the nut shots that he took. I mean, like, that is what you do in this sport. You fight.
yeah, and again, I go back to it. It's like, I watched RDR go to the corner in the fourth round, and I was not looking at, a corpse. I was not looking at the most tired individual that I've ever seen in my life. I was not seeing somebody who looked like they had nothing left.
Right.
And then the fact that the coach says he's the one that made the call, I could tell there was just nothing left in him. It's like, mate, y'all must have not been training hard enough. I mean, if if you ain't seen him to the deepest darkest depths of the sport, I mean, mate, how long have y'all been coaching this guy? Because, like, clearly, that didn't look like it would have been one thing if he would have got to his corner. He's got his head down, or he's like, got his hands on his head. He's breathing all heavy. He's actually sweating. Like, I don't know. It just did not look like RDR had, like, the hardest fucking time of his life in the fourth. It just looked like, I'm done losing to this guy. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever the case may be, maybe the coach was taking the fall for him. I don't know. And that is a homie move of the coaches if that's the case. But again, it doesn't add up to a hill of beans when it comes to this sport. So we'll see what they end up doing with Rainier. It's going to be interesting now. The narrative has already started. I mean, right after the fight, I'm always constantly looking over the group chats and the message boards and things like that to see what people are saying, and the leveling that RDR was taking from the fan community just immediately was exactly as expected. So it's going to be a long, hard road for Rainier de Ridder from now on. Certainly not doing any favors to the Netherlands, which is a somewhat underrepresented nation in this sport currently.
yeah, 100%. I actually believe Usri, right? He's from Netherlands
Yes,
too.
he also does represent the Netherlands. Yeah, and he's also a middleweight, right? So that's maybe there you go. There's the next fight.
There we go. We will make this next fight happen. Yes, yeah, I wanted to double check. Yes, Netherlands, Usri Bagari. Yep, cool.
Sounds
Um,
good. I mean, that's about it. You got anything else?
No, I think what I will say is, I don't know if anybody knew, but when it comes to middleweight matchups, if you look at my past history on Verdict, I am very good at picking the outcomes of main events of middleweight matchups. I don't know what the deal is, but for some reason, I'm locked in on middleweights. Welterweights, it's a little higher clip, but welterweights, I'm locked in.
All right. Hey, Galaxy Brain Parton. Clip it, chat.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that is UFC Fight Night, DeRitter versus Allen. After talking it through, what'd you think, Chase?
This one is a little forgettable. I won't forget what Brendan Allen did, and I won't forget, the Dan Mergliotti, but like the individual performances themselves, I don't think I'm taking away too much here.
Yeah, I recall you saying another week recently where you were like, it was a card that had a lot of finishes on it. It might actually have been last week, where you were like, had a lot of finishes, but it still just didn't feel like very satisfying in the big picture. That's how I felt about this card.
I
I
feel
was
like
like,
you crucified me for that last
I
week.
did, I did. Well, because I felt differently, but this week I feel like this. So
Okay,
week over week things
fair.
change, brother.
Yeah, was there a lot of finishes on this one? I guess I didn't
Early.
feel
Well,
like that.
it
Yeah,
was actually the same. It was the same deal. It was the undercard had a lot of finishes. So, there were a
gotcha.
good amount of finishes, and I thought that some of them were okay, but like overall it just felt like it was lacking. And then of course, with all of the absolute ridiculousness when it came to the refereeing, there was just a lot of negativity on this card. This felt like a little bit of a cursed card to me.
I want to start something right now because I'm curious if the chat will be able to back me up on this. What is the one thing that you are looking forward to getting more information on after this card? What I want to say is, I want to see if Mr. Parks' ch- uh, jaw is actually fucked up. Like, I want to know if that is a true thing. Obviously, Bruno Silva and his PED testing is another one of those, but
Sure. Yeah,
um,
I want to know if there's going to be any repercussions for Dan Mergliotta. That's what
oh,
you know
true.
me with my regulations. I'm an MMA regulatory nerd over here, so I'm definitely interested to see if there's anything that comes from that, which I suspect there will not be, but there certainly should be. So yeah, if you guys are interested in any of anything related to this and further information from it, let us know in the Discord. Let us know on social media somewhere, and of course, tune in on Fridays for our Friday free for alls, where we will be going all over the news of the sport.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that takes us to the upcoming card, which of course is UFC 321. This is Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. You want to talk this thing through real quick?
Yeah, we can run it down really quick.
And of course, keep an eye out on this Friday. Again, for the Friday streams, we will have our friend Sarah Toby, who has an inside track on the big man Tom Aspinall. So she's going to be giving us some tips and information that you might not know about outside of her world. So we will go through some of these fights for you right here, right now, though. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. What are you thinking?
Um, I recently the UFC uploaded all of Tom Aspinall's finishes in a 2 minute clip or whatever because that's how long it takes. When you watch it, because I wasn't here for Tom Aspinall as a young prospect. I've only been around for the last. This dude he's only fought 2 times since I've fucking seen him, unfortunately. But when you watch all of his finishes and you see all the names that he's beaten, it's not even really about that. It's about the instincts that this dude has. I mean, when he punches people, he's sprinting across the cage to go punch them some more. When he punches them, they go flying across the cage. When he is on top of them, he's dropping elbows. When he's going for submissions. The one that really stuck out to me the most was the Alexander Volkov win. He literally trips him, gets him down, and just straight arm bars him. Like, it's like, okay, he can just do whatever the fuck he wants to anybody, apparently. And that's let alone him just being able to walk in there and put anybody's lights out with one strike. Cyril Gane is very good on the outside, but it's the same thing with Derek Lewis. I mean, do you think 25 minutes are going to go by that one strike doesn't land? That's, something of a threat.
Yeah, we've been talking this through a whole lot on the watch alongs and in various chats. My buddy, a shout out to John Dong. I saw him in the chat earlier. He's riding with Cyril Gane on this one and thinks Cyril Gane's going to do a lot better. What I've said is I do think that Cyril Gane will do better than some of the previous competitors against Tom Aspinall, but in the end, Tom is that guy right now. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of ring rust factor, maybe. I mean, I don't know how people want to weigh that. Some people will tell you that it's a real thing. Some people will tell you that it's completely made up. What we know of Cyril Gane is that Cyril Gane essentially was gifted his last win. We know that Cyril Gane essentially has one foot out of the door from this sport often. We just reviewed a movie that he was in, if you recall. He was in a film called KO. Go back and rewatch our review of that fine film. But Cyril Gane to me is just, I feel like he's another one of those guys that kind of has already completed his arc in this sport and doesn't really have the level of talent and dedication that Tom Aspinall brings to the table. Tom Aspinall takes being the champ very seriously. He wanted to fight the best in the world. Of course, the best in the world did not want to fight him, so that's a whole separate situation, of course. But he wanted to, and he wants to be champ. He has the mindset. He has the same mindset that Dreekus had when he was champ. You know what I mean? Like taking the championship seriously. And I don't think that anything that Cyril Gane is going to bring to the table is going to be something that is going to be overwhelming to the point that Tom Aspinall cannot handle it.
I think this last one is a really good comment right here. I think he's going to do about 3 times better than all the others. So about 3 minutes finish for Tom. Yep.
Bingo. Hydra consistently hitting nails upon their heads. And that is another one just like it. So I agree entirely as well. Yeah, I mean, he will do better. I think that Cyril Gane, he moves well for a heavyweight. You know, he's got a lot of good qualities naturally. He's a gifted natural athlete. I think I would say, you know, I mean, he's still, even to this day, younger in the sport. I mean, you know, he surged up through the sport very quickly because he was naturally gifted. Physiologically, he's a specimen. But when it comes to all of what Tom brings to the table and all of what he brings to the table, he will fare better, but not enough to get a win.
100%.
That is my call. So you're going with Aspinall as well?
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. Of course, as you know, people, Chase and I streaming to our individual channels. You let us know who you think has the better takes on these upcoming fights.
Hell yeah.
The co-main event of this is also a title fight. This is Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern. Why is Mackenzie Dern in this fight, Chase?
Because they've already fought each other and they can build up a rematch. And then if, Virna wins, which is most likely what's going to happen, then they have a trilogy at some point, somehow, some way. I don't think that's going to happen, but Mackenzie Dern, attractive Brazilian girl. I actually, if you want insider information, she posted a picture, and I don't know if she had already had lip injections. Um, she definitely does now.
That
So
doesn't surprise me. Yeah, to me, this is pretty privileged, to be perfectly honest. Mackenzie Dern, 3-2 in her last five, I believe. Virna Jandiroba, coming off of a streak, had to claw her way into the position that she is in now. This is, I really don't think that there's any real way that you justify this aside from the narrative that you outlined there. Mackenzie Dern being put into this fight is ridiculous to me. Granted, there is that history, so okay. I think that Virna Jandiroba has outpaced Mackenzie Dern in a very real way and gets the job done in this fight very handily.
yeah, Mackenzie Dern, she does have BJJ, and Virna is gonna wrestle and get her on her back. Will Mackenzie Dern be able to use some BJJ and get a submission? Because that's really the only way she's gonna be able to win this fight. Because most of the control time is gonna go to Virna if she's gonna just manhandle her to the mat, and then Mackenzie is just gonna be stuck shooting her legs in the air trying to get these triangles and arm bars, and it's just not gonna work. I don't think, especially when you tack on 2 extra rounds for Virna. I mean, Mackenzie Dern might be able to skate away with a win in 2 rounds, and I think it was a split decision, and who knows what was going on in that. But Mackenzie Dern literally just lost to Jessica Andrade 2 fights ago. So
You know what I remember when you bring up Mackenzie Dern's BJJ? I remember her losing at the CJI. Not this
nice.
past one, but the year before. So yeah, Mackenzie Dern is a BJJ practitioner, but that doesn't mean that she's always winning and that she's always the most highly effective one of them. And then you mix in all of the other martial arts and all of the other elements that go into MMA specifically, where BJJ is only one component of a much larger puzzle. And I think that the well-roundedness breaks down very quickly for Mackenzie Dern. Now, granted, we have seen versions of Mackenzie Dern that have been amazing. I will never forget Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill, where she looked like a completely different person. She looked amazing against Angela Hill in a way that we had not seen her before. I called it post-divorce Mackenzie Dern. We thought that a new mythical fighter was unlocked at that point. Then she went right back to losing. So I'm saying that Mackenzie Dern has been very spotty. Now, granted, I am the first person to tell you I think that she is the hottest chick in the game. So, as far as being
Jillian Roberts, are you serious, dude? Like, come on.
More than, yeah, no. Are you trolling right now? Okay, okay. I see the smile. Got you. Yes, no, Mackenzie Dern. I mean, that's my lady right there, and there's a multitude of reasons for that. Perhaps those lip injections are one of them. But either way, I understand that aspect of it, and I'm not taking that away from her. But I do think that that is a big reason why she is in this fight, and I don't think she deserves to be here for this one, especially after Virna has done all the work that she has done. Virna takes this fight handily.
Everybody noticed Virna is the dog in this fight. So
Wild, just because she won the last one.
I guess I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Dog money on Virna Jandiroba. That screams volumes to me from the mountaintops and the hills. So I don't know. I mean, look, Mackenzie Dern, I guess you could say that she does have a different bodily build, and I'm not just talking about her ass. Obviously, I'm telling you, she's got thick legs. She has a solid base. There are elements of her physiological makeup that do lend a little bit of natural ability, maybe. But Virna has shown us that she's able to slink her way through all of that. Like Virna is very crafty. Virna has gotten a lot of high level experience under her belt at this point, and she's seen a lot in this sport at this point. So I don't see any reason why Mackenzie Dern's skill set does not get overworked by Virna.
100%.
All right, you going with her as well?
Going Virna.
All right, yeah, plus 140. Get it while you can. All right, next up, Umar Nurmagomedov coming back against Mario Bautista. Bautista, a guy who is consistently counted out in his fights, yet somehow wins a whole bunch of them.
This one, I don't see him winning. I think Umar is. I mean, whatever Mario thinks he's gonna do to nullify what Umar's gonna do, I don't think it's gonna work. I think Umar unfortunately has a better skill set of what Mario has, and it's kind of the same. Like when Umar and Mario get to their wrestling, it's more or less the same thing. Hold the dude against the cage. I mean, that's generally what it is. Umar at least has the ability to get people down, and his plan is to hold them down. Mario Batista, he just wants to get to the cage and then hold you there for a little bit, and then we're back to striking. So it is a little bit of style matchup. Who's going to win on the feet? I think Umar's going to win in the grappling department, but on the feet, I could be surprised. Umar's got some pretty good kicks, by the way, so it could be interesting.
Yeah, Umar does kind of elevate the Dagestani base in an interesting way. Most more so recently, actually, because I remember earlier Umar fights thinking, "Damn, this dude is really a wet blanket," straight out of the Habib school. But he has gotten a little bit more well-rounded, added a couple more tricks to the game. I think that the speed is probably going to be pretty even here, so I don't think he's going to have much of an advantage there. And if it does end up being those cage clinchy situations, it's a lot of hugging on the cage. I think that Umar ends up getting the better of that. He's really good at corralling the legs. He's really good at sweeping and moving position to where he wants it to be. Bautista does have a pretty firm base, so I think it's going to be harder earlier in the fight. I would say Umar pulls away from this thing midway through and makes it his fight a little bit later in the fight. But there is some little nagging element that does say that because there's a lot of evenness here, that Mario Bautista might be able to pull off a crazy upset. It's in the back of my head.
The reason I say you're correct with that assessment is because I think split decision is very likely for this one.
I could see that as well. Yeah, I definitely could see that as well. So I would say probably taking the over on rounds is maybe more of the smart thing here. I don't think that Umar is going to be able to be as overpowering to get Bautista into a submission position necessarily. Bautista, he's crafty enough to get out of I think that he'll have the same type of circumstances that Corey had, where Corey was able to get out of the control. But Bautista is just going to go back to what he consistently wants to do as well. It's going to be like two Rams button heads kind of thing. They're just going to be butting up against each other a lot of this fight. So I would think over 1.5 is probably pretty safe.
Yeah, fair.
So, all right, but who are you going with? You're going with Umar?
I'll go Mario Batista.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what I was going to do. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to.
No, I'll be different than you. I'll go Umar because I think it'll
right.
be a split. I'm going to take split for Umar because we're in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mario Bautista for the heavy upset here, just because I think it is possible, and Bautista has upset off like a lot in his past. I mean, recently we've seen a good amount of those. Not super confident in it, but I'm more confident in the rounds. So I'll go with him for the show, but my bet's going to be the rounds.
Hell yeah.
All right. Alexander Volkov versus Jailton Almeida. Now, of course, Volkov is the person who got robbed against the man who's in the main event, Cyril Gane. Coming in against Jailton Almeida, this is a definite style matchup here. Almeida, of course, one of the better wrestlers at heavyweight.
Yeah, he's a good wrestler. Volkov's not bad at wrestling, and he's a pretty decent grappler. The size is definitely a big glaring thing with Volkov. He's obviously one of the taller people in the promotion itself, so he's always going to have the reach and the height advantage. But will Jailton be able to use his quickness to just slip on the inside and just take his back and take him down? Like I feel like that's exactly what it'll be. I mean, he'll stand with him for a second, and then he'll just shoot and then drop to a knee and then just switch to a back and then just pick him up, take him down. I don't know. I feel like it should be that easy for Jailton because when you look at the athleticism difference, I mean, Volkov is a little older generation kind of fighter. I mean, he's not necessarily your quick, spunky kind of X factor guy. He's just very well rounded at what he does. I mean, at 6'7", for him to be able to have all the skills that he does, it's genuinely a puzzle to figure out. But when you're Jailton Almeida and you're you just fucking you go in there and wrestle whoever the fuck you want. You pick them up, throw them around. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I want to go with Jailton, I think.
Yeah, no, I like the way that you put that though, that Volkov is like an older generation fighter because it's like, yeah, I mean, they're kind of similar in age, but like the reason that it's the generational element that sticks out to me is that like Volkov comes from the era of the sport where it was just sluggers. Jailton Almeida kind of represents a different style of heavyweight than a lot of these guys have faced. Jailton Almeida, for the longest time, was the guy that I thought was going to be the next wave of people who actually have that well-roundedness at heavyweight to incorporate the wrestling and make it work. And to an extent, he has done that. He's gotten caught as well. So it's not always going to be foolproof, but at the same time, I think that Volkov has a type of fighter and a type of fight that he is comfortable with, and Jailton represents a problem that he is not necessarily going to be as well equipped for.
Yeah, this one will be fun though. I like this matchup.
Yeah, same here. So I also will be taking Jailton Almeida on this one, unless Volkov can pull the one move that we know works gangbusters on him, which is elbows to the side of the head when he
No,
is in the clinch.
no. You're mistaken. The actual move that is what Volkov needs to pull out is in the middle of his round. He needs to comb his hair.
Oh well, yeah, that's a given. Obviously, yeah, we need instant grooming Volkov to level up 2 levels in mid fight. That is very true.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Going on down the line here, Alexander Rakic versus Azamat Mirzakhanov. I love this fight. I am a big fan of Mirzakhanov. I think he's been a guy who's been under the radar for quite a while, and I think that Rakic has been a little underwhelming in his last couple of performances. So I like this matchup.
Oh, I like this performance, or I like this matchup as well, but for the opposite reasons. I'm not a big fan of Azamat because he's not necessarily the most active. He's 15-0. That means he's got a target on his back.
Fair.
Alexander Rakic, though. You say he hasn't been impressive in his last performances. I've only seen him and his performance against Yuri, and he fought somebody else after that. Maybe I could be wrong, but he actually is impressive in my opinion. He's 6'4". He's a very kick heavy striker when it comes to light heavyweight. He has size. He has reach. He just doesn't necessarily have all the skills to put it together, especially when you go up against the Czech samurai and you tell him he's not a samurai before the fight. You've already
True.
fucked up.
Yes, sir.
Rakic, though, potentially has the ability to immobilize most of the light heavyweight competition with how good and fast and effective his leg kicks are. I think that's going to be the main thing that's going to take Azamat a little bit out of this matchup is Rakic is going to rip the legs early and quick.
Well, I mean, if that is the method, then there is potential there. I think that Mirzakhanov, being a little bit of a stubbier guy, has all of the opportunities in the world to get right past those long legs. That is, I think, the method on the other side of the table is that Mirzakhanov, low base, heavy base, goes in there, gets past the ranged attacks, because that's really where Rakic shines. You're exactly right. He's a kick-heavy fighter because he likes to keep at range. He'll try to keep distance and throw those kicks out as instantly as possible. All Azamat has to do is either catch one of them or time it perfectly so that he throws it, gets right back to resetting, and just blitzes him. I think a single leg is certainly possible. Might be able to pull off a blast double on that. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, for the smaller guy in this specific matchup. So for that reason, I think that he will be negated.
I'm taking Rakic on this one.
All right, go for it, man. I will be the counter to you. I will be taking Azamat Mirzakhanov. I do agree with you, though. I think that you're exactly right that there is a target on that O, but in this one specifically, I've just been let down by Rakic one too many times. I think that Azamat takes this fight.
Well, you're just in a situation where you're betting on Mirzakhanov at every point to not lose to the most embarrassing person in this point in his career. I mean, if you're 15-0 and you lose to Rakic, what does that say for the rest of your light heavyweight career as of right now? You've made it this far, and Rakic is the ceiling.
Oh, well, then you go the opposite way and say, well, but Rakic is only 14-5. I mean, this guy is he's fought the best in the world. He's been close to the elites. I mean, this guy is, if we're talking tier list, man, he's right underneath the elites. So that's not a bad loss. That's how you frame it.
That's fine. Well,
Dude, I'm a spin master over here,
okay.
brother. I don't get caught in those kinds of situations. So Azamat Mirzakhanov, I'll be on your PR team after you lose.
Hell yeah.
All right. Down to the prelims here. Love this fight as well. This is Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkild. This is a big jump for Quillan Salkild. Holy shit.
Yeah, this is the guy who gets a knockout in 13 seconds of the Indian fighter versus a guy who's a veteran, who's a warrior, who is a true striker. This is obviously in the bag for Nasrat Haqparast, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh God. Yeah. This is they are feeding Salkild to the wolves with this fight. This is kind of a crazy fight to think about. Now, granted, you get a win, you got to fight up. I mean, it does make sense that you want to put him against somebody who's really going to test him, but this is a real test, and I just don't think that Quillan Salkild is going to be up to what Nasrat Haqparast brings to the table. Nasrat is a gangster, bro.
Yeah, he is, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, really not too much else to say about this. I think this is going to be a walk in the park for Nasrat. I think
Well, listen, I'll say something. If you guys didn't know the story by now, Nasrat Haqparast, the first time I ever watched this dude fight, I was sick, right? I was sick and pay-per-view was playing, and I remember stopping, and I said, "Holy shit, this Nasrat Haqparast dude is like so fun." I was genuinely feeling the sickness leave my body from watching such a beautiful performance from Nasrat Haqparast against Jamie Malarkey, I believe is what it was, and then he fucking finished him, of course. Nasrat Haqparast is one of the fighters that the eye test will tell you everything you need to know about how good they are. He passes that test. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see this guy fight. The striking is just it's almost amazing to me that he is 18-5. Like the 5 seems like it doesn't belong when it comes to him. You
right.
know what I mean? Like you've seen so many like classic perform. It's kind of crazy to me as well that like he's not a bigger name in the sport based on what we've seen out of him. He's another one of those guys that's like bubbling beneath the surface, but like when people finally like start to come around to figuring out that this dude is like the real deal, he should be a much bigger name. So hopefully he goes out there and keeps racking up the highlights that he's capable of.
Yeah, to be honest, that fucking featherweight Moroccan dude, I mean, God, I can't stop talking about that guy. This guy should be the real deal right here. This is the real Moroccan devil right here. So
Listen to that hate just pour out of your pores, man. Listen to you. But that's okay, because you're talking about Nasrat Haqparast, and that is a dude who definitely deserves the praise. So Quillan Salkild, use that mustache to the best of your abilities, sir, but I just don't think it's going to be strong enough.
yeah, 100%.
All right. Next down the line, Ikram Alaskirov versus Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle. What are you thinking? This is an interesting one to me.
I think there's two possibilities, and Jung Young Park is going to take Ikram into deep waters and win, or Ikram's going to starch him in the first round. Do I want to put my money on the guy who gets hurt in every single one of his fights? I hate to say no. Like I know Park is a warrior. This is a dude who'll fight for your money. But the fact is every time you have money on him, it's gonna be a fight. It's not like he's ever has the possibility to just walk in and walk out. I mean, for him to win a fight, he's gonna have to have a bloody nose first.
Bro, this guy claws his way through the trenches for his wins every time. That's why I
Yeah.
love the guy. So I'm a huge fan of the Iron Turtle. If you didn't know, he's in that class, I wouldn't say like one of my absolute favorite fighters, but he's definitely one of my favorite people in MMA because, as you're saying, he is as game as they come. The Koreans, often very game. So he definitely goes out there and puts his all into his fights and often comes up victorious with that. But equally on the other side, it feels like there's always the possibility of him losing. This fight, I would completely stay away from. I want to believe that he has the ability to pull that off in this fight, but Ikram is also that dude. Losing a fight to Robert Whitaker on short notice does not really change what he was already doing, in my opinion. This, what we'd said about the other park, about, the park that we had just been talking about earlier on the last card, that does not apply to Ikram, in my opinion. Like, we've seen Ikram come back. Granted, he starts Andre Muniz, who is now out of the organization, but you see Ikram and the abilities that he has as like with outside of that upper echelon here, which Park is not in. I think that he certainly has potential to win this fight. I would stay away from betting on this fight personally, but for the sake of the show here, I will go with Jun Young Park. I will go with the Iron Turtle as a fan.
I'll take Ikram.
I think that is probably the wiser choice.
All
All right.
right.
This next one is another fight that's it's interesting to me, but I don't know. It's Ludovic Klein versus Mateusz Rambecki, another person that goes to war like almost every time he fights. Rambecki is about as game as they come, but doesn't always win, even with that mentality. So, I mean, only 3 losses in total, though, so it's not like it's a foregone conclusion that he does not get the win, but we've seen him come up short with his warrior spirit, I guess is what I will say.
This is a difference, though. Yes, this dude goes to war every single time. This is a guy that is getting punched in every single one of his fights, and it is hard to say that he's trustworthy money. But the reason I think it's different is because when I watch Mateusz Rambecki against Chris Duncan and against Miktabek Orabai, this is genuinely one of the scarier dudes to match up with. He never stops walking forward, and he punches hard. He mixes up a lot of stuff, and listen, talk about game, man. I mean, this is a dude. He's at a size and a wingspan that is very unique for this weight class. He's not normally gonna have the imposing size against his opponents. Luckily, Ludovic's also kind of a short, stubby guy, but this one right here, I don't know. Ludovic just lost to Gamrot. I mean, convincingly. And people were very confident that Ludovic had it in the bag. The fact that he's a favorite against Rebecki, who is a literal dog, is crazy.
Oh God, yeah, Mateusz Rambecki at plus money that's like music to my ears, bro.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, there's no way I'm betting against Rambecki. Absolutely. I mean, this dude, I think that the one thing that's unfortunate about Rambecki is that he doesn't have the finishing ability that we've seen lately. I mean, like he has finished fights, obviously, but like it seems like as he rises up, he continues to have the never quit attitude, but like he just needs to put the power behind it. And he is a zombie. I mean, the guy never stops coming forward, but it's at the expense of the gas. It's at the expense of the power to sometimes. So it's like it's hard to it's like the last piece of the puzzle. It's hard to say that he like couldn't be one of the greats if he just had that one little last bit, which is the continued power. But regardless of that, I think he's just going to be able to outwork Ludovic Klein. This guy will not quit ever. He's a nonstop fighter.
Yeah, he gives the Polish fighters a really good reputation, just like most of them do.
Damn right. Polish power on full display with Rambecki, except for the finishing part.
Oh yeah.
All right. Next up, Abdul Karim Al Sawadi versus Mateus Camillo. Al Sawadi, I remember, but why am I remembering? I remember the name.
You shouldn't.
No?
Nope. He's
Nothing.
nobody.
He's a nobody?
He's just lost to some random dude in his last fight, and then the Camillo dude has had one fight in the organization that he lost. I mean, this is genuinely one of the stupidest fights to have on this card, because if you look at all of the fights that we've gone through so far, this is low key. Kind of cooking a little bit. This is
pretty
kind of a
card,
banger.
Yeah.
But this fight right here, like, are we serious? Like,
Okay. Well, then you tell me who's gonna win.
I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take Mateus Camilo.
All right. Well, then I will go with Al Sawadi. Not confidently, of course, because I do remember the name. But if he's coming off of a loss, I don't know if there's much to put stock into. Go with the over if they're both newer guys who are not like going out there and starching people.
Yeah.
Rounds, that is, over on the rounds. All right, next up, Walter Walker finally back. Of course, Walter Walker had to drop out of a recent fight, so good to see that he is well, actually, no, he didn't have to drop out. His opponent dropped out. It was
Correct.
Walter Walker was supposed to be going up against Mo Usman, and of course, Mo Usman popped like a damn dirty cheater. So Walter Walker versus Louis Sutherland. Louis Sutherland is a dude who stepped in on short notice, I recall. I believe that he lost that fight. Or is he coming off the Contender Series? It's one of the two. I remember him, though.
No, he wasn't on Contender Series. He hasn't been in the UFC yet. His fight got canceled for some reason a couple
Oh,
weeks ago.
okay. Got you. Okay, so he was going to make his debut at that
I
point.
forget who it was against, but yeah, they pulled out.
I thought I had recalled him from, maybe it was from that. Then I guess I thought he came in on short notice as one of those guys that was like, pull him to kind of see if he was going to be somebody. But yeah, all right. Well, if this is his debut, then I don't. What do you think?
Um,
Walter Walker by heel hook?
Gotta be, I guess. I mean, Louis Sutherland is probably just here to give his heel to him. I can't really say too much is going to be different. I'll believe it now. I mean, if he's destined to go for the heel hook every single fight, I mean, sure, I'll go for it. But I'm not one to believe that if he does it every single time, he's going to continue to do it. So
Well, I'm a big fan of believing until I have a solid reason not to. And Louis Sutherland coming into the organization as a newcomer gives me every confidence in the world that Walter Walker gets this fight done. So that being said, is it by heel hook? Maybe not, but I got to believe that Walter Walker is the better choice out of the two if this guy is a newcomer.
yeah, true. He's from Bellator back in like 2015.
I thought the name was familiar. Okay. All right. Well, if that's the case, then my feeling on people coming in from other organizations certainly stands.
True.
All right. Down the line, Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Miguel Delgado. This is a good fight.
It is. Nathaniel Wood is a very basic, generic boxer. He's not necessarily anybody that's going to provide anything outside of a very basic game plan. He's kind of like Mike Malott. He's just very down the books, can do a little bit of everything, but makes himself susceptible to people that are great at certain things in the game. Jose Miguel Delgado is great at striking. Great striker, great power. Nathaniel Wood is somebody who is game to go ahead and strike with people. It's going to start getting dangerous when you're somebody who's never been finished, I believe. Let me just double check that. If you've never been flatlined, oh, no, he's been KO'd twice. Okay, well, 3 times is nothing different. So I'm going to take Jose Miguel Delgado.
Yeah, that sounds about correct to me as well. Nathaniel Wood has always been somewhat underwhelming to me. I know that he is a great ambassador for the sport, for the great country of England, and he's a fan favorite and has a lot of support back home. He's always been a guy who's been a middle level talent, in my opinion. Now, granted, that does not mean he does not win fights, because he certainly does. But I think that there is always going to come a time where it's really dependent on his opponent, and I think we've seen enough good things out of Delgado to think that he should be able to pull this off.
100%.
So, yeah, I think also with Wood as well, it's he always screams checkerboard record to me, and if he is coming off of a win, which I believe that he is, then
Against Morgan Shively.
Yeah, exactly. Then he's due for a loss right after. He's hot and cold.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Jesus, a lot of fights on this one. Hamdi Abdel Wahab versus Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett coming back after almost a full year off.
Yeah, and there's probably a good reason for it. His ankles can't support him anymore. But this one is genuinely, when you say heavyweight slobs, I mean, you can't make this shit up. I mean, this is 2 of them right here. This is going to be, these dudes are going to just pull the entire crowd into their fucking gravitational pull. Like, it's crazy to me. I don't care who wins this. It's gonna be Hamdi, of course. Like, Chris Barnett is a literal meme. Like, people genuinely thought that he was gonna beat Kennedy and Chezuku, and that was after he broke his fucking ankle in his intro. So there's just no hope for this guy. He's just somebody that gets a lot of views because people want to see the fat guy maybe do a spin kick. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, could there be some craziness from him still left in the tank? Maybe, but I think it's a big maybe. And the more that you rise off of memes, the more that you're going to get exposed time over time, I think is
Yeah,
really, that's just a general rule. So, yeah, for that reason, it really does kind of suck to think that Hamdi is going to get almost gifted a win with this one, but Hamdi by laying on top of Barnett for 3 rounds.
hopefully he takes him down and doesn't strike with him. But who
Yeah,
cares?
I I don't know. I mean, Hamdi's still working through his last cycle, so maybe there'll be some residual there that'll give him some striking ability as well.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Hamdi, I guess.
Nice.
All right. Next one up. This is actually a really well, it's not a really good fight, but it's good for this guy. It's Azat Maxim versus Mitrapozo. Now, Maxim coming off of a really good performance in his last fight that I mean, it was very, very close and probably should have won that fight. I think a lot of people think
Yeah.
Mitrapozo is about as mid-level of a talent as you can get in this sport. I don't think that the odds even are properly reflecting this. And Maxim is a -350, so that should tell you something.
Yeah, Maxim is, like you said, pretty damn good, I thought, and his last performance definitely beat Tagir. Um, but Mitrapozo is coming off 2 losses. This is definitely just to get Maxim a free win because they realize that he's kind of an interesting character that the community will care. Geez, that the community will care about.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Maxim, there's a lot more to him than being this low on the undercard would lead one to believe, and it's just a matter of time for him to express that in the organization.
Yeah,
Raposo is a perfect feeder fight for him. Raposo has you go back in some of our assessments of Raposo, and you can see that there is a lot of not great things that were said about him in the past. I think that those carry over into this fight as well.
yeah, 100%. I do like Maxim a lot. I'm really excited to see this performance because hopefully it's going to be a finish.
Yeah, I would say that hopefully this is one that'll get a highlight for Maxim and kind of put him back into the echelon that he deserves to be in because it was a very close fight with Ulanbekov, like you said.
100%.
All right, and yet another card that starts off with a women's fight, and this one, I mean, interesting enough, we're Jacqueline Amarim, a very talented BJJ practitioner, going up against a single named Mizuki from Japan. Who is
Oh,
Mizuki?
I mean, I was wrong to assume this is a free submission win for Miss Jacqueline Amarine. I would assume that she's facing some can, right?
Right.
Um, this woman has 9 submission wins and has never been submitted, never been
Well,
finished. So Jacqueline is 10 wins, 10 finishes.
Well,
So
JJJ versus BJJ, it would seem.
what's going to happen here? I think Jacqueline is obviously going to win because she's been facing the UFC competition longer. Mizuki, she's actually been in the UFC, faced Amanda Lemos. Holy shit, back in 2020. Holy shit.
Yeah, where's she been? She must have been
Uh,
taking some time off or something.
Hannah Goldie is her last opponent
Oh
back in
God,
2023.
I was gonna say Hannah Goldie hasn't fought in the organization for a while. Geez, yeah, where has Mizuki been? She's been MIA.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Sarah Longo?
Is she a Sarah Longo
Yeah.
product? Really?
Yeah.
Well, then this could be much more of an interesting matchup than these odds would lead one to believe. I mean, coming from a good school, decent record, never been submitted, but going up against a
Never
grappler
been
herself.
finished.
Yeah, never been finished. Period. I mean, I don't know. What do you make of all of this, Chase?
Amarine by finish.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say you can't go against Amarim. Come on, dude. We've seen some really impressive things out of Amarim in the past. Like all of those credentials that you laid out are great. We just saw a Sarah Longo guy on the Contender series get fucking starched. So it's not always about your school, I guess, is what I'm saying there. Even though shout out to Sarah Longo, one of the best in the game. Yeah, Amarim is just too impressive. I gotta believe that this price tag is warranted here. I think that this is going to be a bit of a layup for her.
Yeah, I'd like to believe so. I would not love to see Mizuki win because that ruins our chances to see Jacqueline Amarine have the belt wrapped around those hips.
I mean, you never say never, but it would just at least be one setback and one that you wouldn't like to see because she is surging and she is pretty good. So
Facts.
let's see what she can do here against Mizuki. I like the name at
Hell
very
yeah.
least. So, all right. Well, after 3 hours and 45 minutes, I will tell you that we will watch all of these fights with you live this Saturday. Early start for these fights. Remember that it starts at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be prepared to get up early. We are going to have to hustle through that Friday show, but we're going to make all of it happen, and we will be here on the Yama channel, myself and I think Vitz King at the very least. If not, I'll do it solo if he can't make that, but we will be at youtube.com/@Yama Show for the watch along. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They will find me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls on Saturday watching these fights at 10 a.m. If you guys didn't remember it, 10 a.m. is when the fights are going to start on this Saturday.
That's right. I am at Yama Show on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. So make sure that you follow on the social media platform of your choice. We will be back on Friday as well. I might be able to try to get some additional stuff out this week, but this week is a little bit hectic, so maybe not. Either way, you know that there's always something new coming out between your boys here. So thank you very much for watching tonight and listening to us. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.